Hello, my name is Carlos and I'm a VFX supervisor at El Ranchito. I've been working on the VFX industry for 22 years now, and I have focused my career on creatures and characters, and especially how to make them feel alive, how to make them feel believable, and that's exactly what we're going to do in this course. We will use the creature that you see right now on screen, and using different techniques like deformations and muscle simulations and skin simulation, we will try to get to that next level of realism so it feels much more alive and it feels believable. Hello, this is an introduction to Maya. We're going to do character-based introduction to the software. And maybe you are a Houdini user, maybe you are a Maya user, but you're not that experienced with the software. So we will try to explain everything that concerns characters, and we will start to looking at the software itself and how it works. So this is Maya. This is like any other 3D application, really. You have a lot of menus up here and the icons. Everything in these icons, we will see that it's already here. So you can see right here, this is an extrusion and this is an extrusion. It's the same thing. But let's start talking about like the way of working in Maya and the difference between Maya and Houdini in that case. So I can create a sphere right here, and you can see I have my outliner. So I have my sphere, and if I just click this guy, I can see the shapes. So almost every software, 3D software in the world has this kind of thing. So you have a transform, which is really an empty group that scales and moves and rotates whatever is inside. And you have a shape, which is what defines what's inside. In this case, it's a sphere with this vertex. So if I go here to the right, I have the attribute editor, where I can see the attributes of my transform, translate, rotate, scale, and my shape. Which I can smooth and I can do a lot of stuff. You can see now it's smoothing. You can do the same thing with 3, and 1, 1, 2, 3 to smooth the subdivisions here. Just visual. It's not smoothing really, it's not generating more polygons. But here you can see we have the sphere itself where I can change how many subdivisions I want. Okay, we can see that also in the channel box, which is faster to move and just to get the channels that are usually animated. And you can see we have the shape here and the polysphere right here. Let's put like 20 and let's add a subdivision, which is this one, smooth. So now I'm subdividing, and as you can see, we have now two inputs, polysphere and the subdivision. I can say subdivide 2 times, 1 time, and I can still change the subdivision axis and subdivision height that I got. So this is the history in Maya. And Maya is not thought like that. It's not like I will keep the history. That's why it's not procedural. If I go to Houdini, just 1 second here, you can see I can create an object, geometry, and this would be my transform. I have translate, rotate, scale, exactly the same thing in Maya. And if I go inside, I can create a sphere. So this is the same thing, exactly the same. You can see it right there where it's like objects geo1 and sphere 1. If I go again to Maya, we have the sphere, this would be geo, and this won't be geo shape, it would be like sphere 1. Well, okay. And then I have here my inputs for the sphere and the smooth. I can just go here inside and say subdivision. And then I have my subdivision. You can see right here that they appear in the tree. The subdivision doesn't appear here. You can look at the node editor, in Windows Node Editor, and look at inputs and outputs, and you will see that we have something pretty similar to what we have in Houdini. So we could do something like that. This is the shape. In Houdini, the shape is everything you put inside the geometry operator, but you can see that we have the sphere, we can change that, and the subdivision, and we can change that. Exactly the same. The difference really is that Maya doesn't work like that. Really, he doesn't love to have all this history, and that's why there's probably the most important thing to do in Maya, which is delete the history. Now I can change, as you can see, I can grab my polysphere and I can change the subdivisions. Let's hit that to see the wireframe, and I can still change that. I can still change visions if I want, but once I'm happy with the object, you should delete by history. If I want to rig it, I want to move it, I want to deform it, I want to wherever, it's really, really recommendable to delete history. So once that I do that, now this shape node has baked all the information, but I cannot change anything right now. You can see I cannot change the subdivisions, I cannot change anything. This is like that, and it cannot change. I cannot go back. Where in Houdini, you can always go back. You don't have to delete the history because Houdini is just history. Everything is what you do from the beginning. If I want to do a cube right here, I can do a cube and say, no, I don't want a sphere anymore. I want a cube. Don't worry about that. You have a cube. And again, I can change the subdivisions on the cube. I can do whatever I want. This is not how Maya works. Maya prefers to delete the history. So you will be saving a lot of more times. You will be saving things in different formats and different scenes, or maybe duplicate a bit just to be sure that you have what you need. And that's the thing that you should be really, really aware of. Well, these are the basic differences between Maya and Houdini. And let's start with Maya. Okay, we start with a new theme. We can just, this is the default outliner. So here you will see all of the objects that you have. And as you can see, I have some display things that you can just go here in, I can just make it floating, and I can change the animation details, the object details, the poly count, and a lot of things that you can change from the heads-up display. And I also change the grid. I have the grid like that because I prefer to use some real-world units, and Maya is thought in centimeters. Houdini goes with meters. So if I create a human, I want it to be 170 centimeters, so 1 meter and 70 centimeters. And that's why I change it like that. It's not the default, but you get the idea. And in the viewer in Maya, you can just keep space, and there's a lot of things going on here in space while you hold the space. If you just click it, you can have all the views: top view, front view, side view, and the perspective view. Let's do a sphere so we have something to look at. Okay, and as most of the softwares, to frame is F, to frame select thing, and with A, you select all the objects that are in a scene. So A, F, and that happens in every viewport, in every view that you want. Okay, I will hit a space here, and then I go to the top view, pull the screen, and perspective, you can start changing things like that. This has all the menus, really. So if you look at it, you can see mesh, edit mesh tools, whatever. This is mesh, edit mesh tools, whatever. And these are for modeling. If I change here the work that I'm doing, and I'm doing rigging, I change here. You can see the skeleton, skin, deform, constraint. That's what I have here. If I go to animation, you will see key, playback. right here. So it's a really fast way, if you know your way, right there, to move along and to keep doing things. Okay, Maya is a QWERTY software. I love that. And QWERTY means that the first 5 letters in your keyboard, it's QWERTY, it's Q, W, E, R, T, Y, are the ones that do things. So Q would be for selection, W is for moving, E is for rotating, R is for scaling. So we have everything clear. I hope you already know that, but just keep in mind. And again, as I scaled with E, this guy, you will see that the sphere is changing its values, and that's the transform, not the shape. So remember, it's really, really important to get the difference between a transform and a shape. Okay, so now that we have that, we can start doing maybe some modeling. I will just show the tools that we have. Let's do group like that, here's some pieces like that. So to select things on Maya, you just hold the right click, the right button on your mouse, and as you can see, I can select a lot of stuff. Here I can select the edges and double click it, select the edge loop. With the going to the left, you can select the vertices. Going down, you can select the faces, and here you have a multi-select which highlights wherever you need. Okay, object mode turns it to object mode, and you just select objects and you move the transform. So when I'm moving this, I'm really editing and moving the shape. The transform is exactly the same. So you can see right now, my pivot is on the origin, right? If I move this cube there, my pivot is here. But if I just grab all the vertices and move them here, when I go back to object mode, you can see that my pivot now is here. And that's the pivot, and that's how it should be. If this is too huge, you can just use the plus minus sign. You know, this is plus, this is minus, to get the handles a little bit better and smaller or bigger. Okay, so now this is my rotation and this is everything because we just moved the shape. We didn't move the transform. And same thing if I want to scale it and rotate it. Go to object mode, and you can see my pivot is there, so it's scaling, rotating, and translating from here. Okay, now that we have that, the most basic things that you can do in modeling should be just adding some topology and doing extrusions and bevels and things like that. So let's do a couple of them. Let's just try to grab this face and hit the extrude button or Control E. And as you can see, we have a lot of things here to play with. Thickness, local transparency is exactly the same. Offset, to create an offset and to put some divisions there. And you can keep the faces together or not. We will do another example of that in a moment. So let's keep it that way. And I can just move it. As you can see, I can hit here and I can rotate it on its own axis and move it on its own axis also. So that's great. And I can always go back to the W or the E and rotate it from the face itself. If you hit T, you get to this tool right here. Keep in mind that all the tools are there. So this is Q. As you can see, select tool. This is select lasso tool, paint selection tool, and then move, rotate, and scale. And this one is the last tool that we use. When you do an extrusion, it goes to the manipulator tool, which is this one. So if I hit W, it's just moving. If I hit T, this is the manipulator one, which has another pivot. Okay, so let's try and do another one. And take it a bit. Maybe we will do another one. As you can see, you can do a lot of stuff just with that. And let's do another thing. It's pretty easy. Let's grab this face and this face, and just select bridge, which is another deformer, another modeling tool, which bridges to faces from the same object. They have to be the same object. Let me hide the grid right now. So we can add more subdivisions to this. We can do taper and do stuff. Not right now because they are the same, but we can twist it. It won't twist that well, really. But you can imagine we can do a lot of stuff with that. Okay. So now we have that. As you remember, we can hit the 3, hit pop, 3, and we'll see it subdivided. Great. And you can see we have all this history here. If I open again the node editor, you will see that we have a lot of things here going on from our first polycube, then extrusion, and that's the thing. You cannot play with that as in Houdini. If you start playing with that, everything will break. So it will break pretty easy. So you better not do that. What you should do is go here and delete history of Alt-Shift-D. That's what I will do, Alt-Shift-D, and I don't have any more history than he remembers the node editor tab. So I will just clear it. We will go later to the node editor, and we have that. Okay. So this is not looking pretty nicely, but we have something right there. And another thing that you usually do is just, I will select double clicking and shift to add the selection, control to remove from selection, and control shift to toggle. And I will shift also this edge. Sorry, not this ones. You can change the view right here with wireframe, smooth shaded. This will be to show the default material. This is to show the topology when I have nothing selected on. This is for texture. This is for light. And you can change all of that here. And you can see right here the different hotkeys that we have, which goes from 4 to 6, I think. So 4 is wireframe, 5 is smooth shade. I think that, yeah, Alt 5 is smooth shaded. 6 will be textured. As you can see, that changes. And 7 is light. And this is shadows. So let's keep it like that. You also have some ambient occlusion and anti-aliasing. This is really important if you do hair in a character, so it looks much better. Okay, so now that we have that, just right-click and select the edges, and we will do a bevel. As you can see, we can change the fraction right there. So we will have a nicer border right here, as you can see. Even subdivided, you can see the difference right there. It's going to be like a carved edge right here. And we can also do, I don't know, something like that. And extrusion, let's just scale it a bit. Another extrusion, let's go down. So now we have a double face geometry. And this is like a really strange cut to bring on, but you get the idea. And if you don't want to use a bevel and you want to add points, you can use this tool right here, the multi-cut tool, which you can just, as you can see, it's already snapping. You can just click places and create new geometry. And with right click, it ends the geometry you're writing. Never do that. Never put a vertex that way. And it's really nice with control. You can do edge loops. And control shift, you can do edge loops with different progression. So this would be like 70%, 60s, 50%, sorry, 60, 70, and so on and so forth. So I can just create that and another one right here. And if I just hit again 3, you can see we have a nice part edge right there. We can do the same thing here. So now I can see much better the hard edge right here when I hit 3 for subdividing. And again, I have some history. I will delete that. Maybe we'll save that just to have it, and I will start using another geometry with a little bit more of resolution. So as you can see, polysmooth face, it's still there. I can play with that. Or I can just Alt-Shift D and delete the history. So now I have my object here. And this is modeling in Maya. It's pretty easy, and you can play a lot with all the things that you have here. You can combine objects, you can extract objects, but you have to keep in mind that history is really important. So you should do things always thinking about that and thinking about we will not keep the history almost never. We will delete it almost always. So you have to keep that in mind while you're modeling and playing with stuff. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for modeling. You can play a lot with all those different tools that you have here. You have a lot of them, and you have some things to, this is for mirroring. This will be to reduce topology. You can triangulate, you can do a lot of stuff. Here, you can even grab like this. I hit tab and I can just paint my selection based on the camera, so it's not selecting. If I just select this, it will select everything that's on the back. So let's just hit tab and paint selection, which is the same thing as clicking this button here and paint selection, but you will have to do something like that. So I prefer to use the regular one and just hit tab and do something like that. And maybe we can do that to create a circle. As you can see, difference, Control Z, circle, and extrusion. Maybe we can do something like that. Put here a couple of edges, something happens. Now I can put edges here, and we will have this kind of detail there. That's pretty nice. Not that useful for human or character or creature modeling, but it's the basis to start doing something and create amazing stuff. So I will explain much more things in the next one. Okay, let's do something character based for start. So usually when you start a character, you sculpt it in ZBrush or whatever, and maybe it's a digital human, it comes from a scan, and it usually comes with really bad topology. So the first thing is to create a topology. Let's see how we can do that in Maya. It's pretty easy. Let's open the content browser where we have some models here. You can see I have this model. I will subdivide it a couple of times, and I will, it has not that nice topology, but nicer topology than B. And let's try and triangulate this one. I think it was here. So maybe it comes like that from the scan, whatever. So we have to do some topology there. Okay, so to do topology, you should select your model and hit this button to create a live surface. So now this is live. It means that things will get attached there. So I don't know if I can create this. Yeah, as you can see, this sphere, because this is live, cannot move outside the silhouette of this man. So this is what live means. And what we should do now that it's live is hit that here, which is the quad mesh. It's called Quad Drop Tool. You can see here, just remember channel box, aspect editor. There's also modeling toolkit. And here you have a lot of things to model pretty quickly. This is a plugin that Autodesk bought some years ago, and it's pretty nice. It has a lot of things that work pretty nicely. So I can just create like 1, 2, 3, 4 points right here. And with Shift, I'm creating one polygon. Pretty nice. You have auto weld, so it's going to try to weld vertices that are close. And you also have the constraint. You can do some surface alpha. So this is not in the surface. It's a little bit more surface offset, sorry. So it's a little bit, as you can see, if I move that and I start moving these around, this is going to be other way. It's barely noticeable, but it is there. Okay, now it's just on the top, and you can change the color or the alpha, the one that I'm doing now. Okay, let's put by default. And if you want to delete it, you Control Shift click, delete it. It doesn't let it delete because it should have at least one face. So with Control, you can create new polygons. And with Tab and left click, I can extrude just the edge that in. With middle click, I can extrude all the edge loop. So you can start building this pretty quickly. You can also hit Shift and relax these points. You have to relax the borders separately. So it tries to create a relax there. And that's pretty much it. You can see it's really, really on surface. I will just select the object and move it that way. And as you can see, I created some polygons there. Okay, so if I want to do something like that, first thing first, I will create the live surface. And then, oh, by the way, there's a thing that you can do in Maya, which is I can just select one vertex. If I move this, I want to move just this vertex. If I hit B, something appears right here, which is the smooth selection. I can hit B, hold it, and click the middle mouse so I can make this bigger or smaller. So now I can move this smoothly. This is pretty, pretty nice. And B with that middle mouse to create a radius works for a lot of tools. We will see it in Node. So I will get object X for symmetry right here. As you can see, the symmetry in the modeling toolkit is already on also. So they are just the same. So we can start building with the quad draw some polygons. So let's say I want to start with the arm. Let's do that. I will create one right there. And as you can see, I have the same thing on the other side. With Tab, I can see that. And you can see there's some colors there. That's because I have B activated. If I move this, you will see everything moves because I have the B activated. I can just hit B again, and now this doesn't move this. So this is really, really nice. Let's start doing that, and keep in mind, this is the best advice I can give when someone is doing retopology. It's a really important process. You really need your topology nice and as much topology as you need, but not too much, and everything should be really well placed and quads and everything. So we'll do fast enough all of these, except the hands maybe, all of this model, but always keep in mind to count. So right now I have done like, if you think of this arm as a cylinder, I've done like a quarter of the cylinders and I've used 2 faces. So let's keep it that way. I'm going to do 1 and 2. So I have 4 faces on the upper side. Let's do the same thing here, 1 and 2 until the middle. Pretty important. 1 and 2. To close it, I can just hit Shift and it will close it. So now, if I select these, you will see that we have 16 edges. 16 because we have 8 here and 8 there because we have the symmetry on. This is pretty important because we need this number to be subdividable, to be a square of 2, really, if we can. So maybe We cannot do a polygon with 2 faces, but we can do with 4. So 4, 8, 16, 32, and 64, etc. Why is that? Because if I want to go up, there's no problem at all. But if I want to go down, and just imagine that instead of that, I just created, no, I think I will need these 2 guys here, maybe here, and maybe here. Now I have 13. And if I want to go one level down, I cannot go because 13 is not divisible, and you will get like 7.5. So it's pretty important to try and get the numbers right. So we have our 16, and always be careful. And when you're doing topology, always start with the less, the most basic things that you can. Don't start doing a lot of topology here because it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so I'll hit tab and middle mouse, and I can just grab this over here as an example, and maybe I can do that. I will do something like that. You can also do that. Don't worry about it. We will have to fix this a little bit. And then with control, we can create some more subdivisions here. Oh, in fact, I think I will do the same thing right here. I will just move the points, be sure that they are on the position that I want. I can also move the edges. So now something like that. This is the edge that goes on the middle. This is the edge that goes that way. This is the edge that goes that way. This goes on front. This goes on back. This goes in the middle. And we have a really nice set of topology. This is pretty nice. I will hit Control a couple of times here to create some more resolution here. And that's one of the first devices that I have, which are really, this geometry should be like that. Don't put a star. We will see just right now what a star is. Don't put it here or here because this is the place of a lot of stressing, a lot of deformation. You shouldn't put your stars there. You should put something like here. We will see right now what is a star. So let's do that, that, that. And here, as you can see, we have a star. You can see all the vertices that have like 4 edges attached. They are across. This one is a star. This has 5 edges attached. So this is where I change the direction of my topology. It's pretty important to put your changes of topology in places that are not that deformed at all. So maybe we can try and put it around here. This is also good. Yeah. And keep in mind, if I want to do another subdivision here, I will do that. So I will add a 9th edge to the arm. So that's not what we need, really. We shouldn't be doing that. Maybe we can do something like that. Pretty much it. Yeah. So we can continue just creating this. So we have 2, we have 3, and this is the one that gets. And if you want, you can just follow this one around here and this one around here. And maybe we'll keep it. This one, it was just an example. We can delete it. And we will create it around here, which I think is much better. And it's not that. It's on a place where it performs a match. So as you can see, is that one. So that same one right there. Let's just stick them together, and we can that. This one ready is that. So let's do pretty quickly neck here. And again, same principle. Maybe for the head, 8 are not good. So maybe we should do something Let me just grab my edges, and this is 14 edges, so this is wrong. Shouldn't have 14 edges. So maybe we'll do 16, maybe I will do, I will delete one of them and make 12, because 12 can be 6. I think I can do just 16 and put them pretty close together. Okay, I'm just making room for one more. Now we have 16, you can see, just changing two edges and double clicking the edges to see here how many I've got. Because as I said, it's pretty important to be sure that you're doing your numbers correctly. So this is more or less half of the base, so we can do something like that. Sure. And nice thing about doing this is that we can go down, and here we can create a couple more. So we have a nice topology, maybe a little bit more, and we can just middle click and drag all these right here, and with control, come on, I can create a couple more and just have everything we need. Same thing here. Let's put it. Oh, Z. In fact, in Maya, you just have to hit Z. You don't need the control if you want. So as you can see, we have something that more or less works. And now it comes the fun part, which is just hitting the relax button. It can relax it, but hitting B, and as you know, with middle mouse click, growing that, you can relax everything, and everything will look much more nice. So let's do something like that, and we have everything. Great. This is pretty great. So we can hit B again to deactivate it and do a couple of these there. Just keep in mind we don't want any penetration, and we don't want any of these vertex to all together yet, until we want them to well together. Okay, so let's see how it works, something like that. Okay, don't worry about that, because just as you start to create polygons, and you should always aim for something that looks like square shape, and you will see that everything comes together and looks pretty nice and looks as it should, a clean and nice topology. Why do we need nice topology? So every one of these vertices really is showing us the volume of this guy. I will select the geometry, because once you put live something, you cannot select it in the viewport. So everything that I select is the poly surface that we have. And I will hit Control-1, or this button right here, to isolate it, and this button to de-isolate it. And as you can see, the volumes are defined every one of the points. So the more points, the more volume you can define, and the more detail you can have. But when you start deforming them, it's pretty important to have them where they should be, to have them defining the volumes that we need to define. And one thing that I've seen, and it's a thing that comes from the past, but it's not really what you should do if you want to do simulation and you want to do these kind of things, is something like that. I don't know, maybe sometimes you see people doing like this kind of elbow, for example, knee or whatever, any details, and they are doing the details. So the topology is doing the details, not the geometry itself, but the topology. So if I have that, it seems like this is a pretty nice idea, because I have my elbow right there and it will keep the volume and blah, blah. Well, that can work if you're not thinking about skin sliding and doing like complex deformation or realistic deformation, really. Because if this is what defines my elbow and the arm bend, the elbow you can see it in yourself. Just move your elbow around and not try to paint a dot with a marker or something in your elbow, and just bend your arm, and you will see that the dot is moving and sliding along the bones and muscles that you have beneath. So this is not a really great idea because this elbow is here, but once the elbow is bent, maybe it's right there, and it doesn't have this shape at all. So that's not a pretty good idea. What is a pretty good idea is to have the most regular topology you can. That's the way you can slide it and you can bend it and you can play with it. Obviously, you will have a much more topology than that. But I think I will put that right there. Smooth games. It does something pretty weird. Okay. Okay. So this is pretty important, and keep in mind, try to make it um, as uniform as you can, and everything are quads. That's like a rule of thumb for the body, not for the hands because they are not simulated, and you can cheat the skin sliding in other ways, and also not for the head because the head also doesn't have simulation usually, and it needs to have this kind of topology, which is pretty important. You know, everything that is like a sphere should be a sphere. So the topology in an eye should go that way. Just look at how am I trying to do the same thing I did where everything has the same number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. These are 8s, pretty good. And this can be something bigger, maybe, something like that. And keep in mind, you can play with all the other geometry tools. So I will exit the tool, I will select my edges, I will hit the extrude button, and I will just scale it down, and you will see it will go inside. So now that I have that, I can hit object again, quad draw again, and you can see that we did couple of subdivisions here. So now we can create something like that, and we can close this gap with everything. Everything has 4 sides. There's no triangle here. There's nothing with 5 sides. And we can try and see what the relax tool is going to do. You shouldn't do it like that. You should do it defining the eyelids and everything with topology well done, but it's just an example how we can change from one tool to the other on the fly pretty easily. So same thing with the mouth, as an example. I will try to do maybe this. And you can see this goes with this goes with this goes with this, but everything as we want. And we can let's do something like that. Pretty easy. And create a couple up there. Yeah, that's great. I will do the same thing. I will just try and do it like that. It doesn't like it that much, right? That's because we have the symmetry on. So maybe I can turn off the symmetry for this one and hit again scale button. Now it's going to work a little bit better. Oh, not that better, really. Let's try and just create that. It's pretty difficult to have to do the inner mouth, but yeah. Just again. Oh, by the way, when this happens, this is because your camera. So let's select our camera with this button. As you can see, I'm in the perspective view. I will hit Control A to open the attribute editor, and you will see the near clip plane and the far clip plane of the camera. So right now, this is where it's clipping. I can put the 1 here, and now it will clip just at 1 unit of distance, 1 centimeter really, from the camera to the object. So you can see we have a long history of every one of the vertices that we do, which when you're doing Retopo, it's pretty recommendable to just, the advice is delete history, please. Because if not, you're going to get something that doesn't really work and it goes really slow. And you will be asking yourself, why is this happening? And it usually happens because you didn't delete the history. So now I can see something that maybe I can create that one, also that one, because of great. Want to close? Sometimes it doesn't get enough room to close. Yeah. Okay, with control I will create another one and maybe I will smooth that a bit. You get the idea, right? So this is topology. I will not do the topology of this entirely, but you get the idea of what it is. And again, same thing with the legs. We can start doing our cylinder here and create 8 or 12, keep in mind the numbers, and this. Okay, so now that we know how to do a topology and a nice topology, let's see what we can do with it to move it and create some rigs to animate some characters. Okay, so the base for rigging and almost everything, Maya is a really powerful tool for rigging. In companies, they usually do it with Python. They do it with programming. So you have your models for a hand, for an arm, for whatever, and then you put them together to create a rig. So you can rebuild it a lot of times. I will show you how to. This is not a Python course, so I will show you how to do it manually pretty fast. But the principle is the difference that you have between the different relationship between objects. So let's create some objects here. Let's just get them. And we have a cube, we have a sphere, and we have a cube. Great. So first thing, here you can see they are all named that and without any hierarchy, really. If I just grab them all together and hit Ctrl-G, group, now I have a group. So now my sphere can move freely, and my cube, but my group moves it all. And because I just hit Ctrl-G, the center of the group is in the origin of the scene. So if I just grab these guys and hit Shift-P to unparent it, you can see it here like parent and unparent. So if I unparent it now, we are outside this group. So I can delete this group and maybe grab all of them and move them all at once. But it's not the same because I don't have the pivot in the center. So now they are rotated, everyone on its own axis. The thing is that you can do something like that, maybe, and they are there. Just hit Ctrl-G, and the pivot of the group will be always the center, right? You can understand that the group is the parent of this grid. So we can just hit Ctrl-Z and we can create some hierarchy here. So let's say that the sphere is, I will just select this one, shift select this one and hit P. So that made the sphere the sum of its parent, which is the cube. So now I can move the cube and the sphere moves with it because it's children of the cube. And the sphere can move itself. So I can just create the cube and then the cylinder, hit P. Now I have another hierarchy here where the cylinder is moving everything. And the cube is moving the sphere and the sphere is moving just itself. But what if I want the sphere to move the other ones? So you cannot do that with parenting. Parenting is a really nice way to create hierarchies, to get everything well organized and to get some really fast results because it's the fastest to calculate, but you cannot do everything with parent. So I just hit Shift P, so there's no parent at all. And let's try and do constraints. So to do constraints, you should go to the rigging tab, and you have here all the constraints that you have. So a parent constraint, it's the same exactly as parenting, but keeping the hierarchy as it is. So I can just grab this, and hit parent constraint. Second one is the one that gets the constraint, and there's no cube anymore. What happened? Cube is inside the sphere. Why is that? This is because if we hit the box and we see how this is doing, the maintain offset is not clicked. So instead of maintaining this offset, so the cube is here, the sphere is here, let's create a relationship between them, but keeping the offset, this distance, it won't keep the distance and it will put it on the sphere origin. So if I repeat the operation, but with maintain offset, as you can see, nothing has moved. But now, if I go to my channel box, you will see that translation and rotation are this clear blue. This means that I cannot move. It seems like I can move this, but as soon as I move that one, it will get to the same position it was, because this is now constrained to this object, and it's parent constraint, so it affects the moving and the rotation. So this is the parent constraint, I will delete it. And one thing really great about constraints is that you can change the weight right here. So I can put the weight to 0, and now it doesn't affect. And I can also do some animation, we'll see how, of the constraints. Great. So we have parent constraint, we have point constraint, which is, it affects the translation, but not the rotation. So just translation. We also have the orient constraint, which is the other way around. It doesn't affect, you can see, the translation, but it affects the rotation. And not as a parent, it just makes the same rotation as the object he's constrained to. We have also the scale constraint, which, as you have reduced, get scale, no translation, no rotation, just scale. And we have a couple more that we will see in the future. Aim constraint, a little bit complicated, but it aims something to something. So let's just do the aim constraint. Let's put this cube up here. And let's try to say that this will be an aim constraint. That one, let's open the aim constraint. With that maintain offset, let's see what happens if I hit apply. Nothing happened. But if the up vector is y, I guess. Oh, sorry about that. Had some weird things from the past. Just with any tool in Maya, you can reset settings and keep it as it was. So let's try and do that. It seems like nothing has happened, but the cylinder is rotated 180 degrees. But if I put it around here, I guess, yeah, you will see this is aiming the sphere. So if I now move the sphere, this aims where it goes. And you can do a lot of things here. You can create an up vector. As an example, you can see right here the rotation in itself, the rotation in the y-axis is more or less what it wants to be. There's nothing controlling that. So maybe we can get this cube and say that we want the wall vector to be an object up, and the object will be cube. So now, if I do again this, now you will see that this is going to, the vector shouldn't be y, it should be that or x. And well, as you can see now, if I move this, the rotation in y is controlled by this cube right here. This is called the up vector. So this is the direction in y that I'm looking at, and just this is the M vector, and the F vector to control the rotation is the Z. And as you can see, the Z is always pointing to my cube. This is an end constraint, pretty powerful. And we also have a pole vector, which is the one that you use for knees and elbows, but we will see that in the future. So now that we understand a little bit more about hierarchies and constraints, let's start to create a character from scratch in the next video. Okay, so let's start talking about deformers, and then we will do a character from scratch. So we can create like a cylinder here. We will add a little bit more of subdivisions, something like that. Great. Maybe some subdivisions here also. Okay, and one thing that you have to be clear about is that, let's say I want to put this on the floor. So there are a lot of ways of moving things. If I hit the W and hold it, and I hold the left click, you can see I can change from object to wall to component to a lot of ways of moving. So let's say I rotate this around. This is moving in object space. But if I go to wall, this is moving in wall space. And you have also component, you have lots of, this is the two most important that you can see we have a lot of them. And if you double click this, the tool settings will tell you that now we are an object and wall component are normal, lots of orientation to do that. Okay, so let's hit Ctrl Z. So if I want that to be on the origin, I can hit the V and middle mouse, sorry, the X and middle mouse, and this will get to the origin, but the pivot in my tube is not on the correct place. So with D from Denmark, you can move your pivot and then rotate or scale or wherever from the pivot that you want. D is the hotkey to move the pivot. So if I hold D and V, I can snap. X snaps to the grid and V snaps to the vertex. So I can middle click, and as you can see, I'm snapping to vertex. So I can snap to this vertex right here, and now this has the origin there. So now I can move it around, and I can hit X and middle mouse, and this is in the origin. Keep in mind that if I have this selected, now with middle mouse, I can just move it in the X direction. Same thing with that in the Z direction and with that in the Y direction. We can do that with the planes, the ZX plane, this is the XZ plane, this is the YX plane, and this is the YZ plane. So now it's moving only that way with the middle mouse. But if I hit the X and try to put it there, it usually doesn't work because right now it's just doing in the X axis. So be sure if you want to snap everything to select the center, which moves everything. Now with middle mouse I can move in all directions, camera view. So with X and middle mouse I'm snapping it to the origin. Okay, now my transform has some numbers. If you're going to deform things, you shouldn't have nothing in your shape. So just the shape, no inputs at all, no history at all, and you shouldn't have transformations. So as we know, we can go here and delete by type history. So now it's just a shape, that's great, but I have some numbers here, and these numbers will make some deformations go crazy, and you shouldn't have them. So we can go to modify and freeze transformations. Be sure that this is reset default values and freeze transforms. Now everything is 0 and scale is at 1. So this is perfect, clean, and that's the way you start deforming things in Maya. Always with freeze transformation and without history. Why is that? Because we will start creating history right now. Let's create the form. As you can see, we have a lot of deformers in Maya, lots of them. We will not see, maybe we'll see a couple of them, but I can show you the nonlinear ones, which is the older ones. Pretty easy to understand. You will see I have a curve right here that can bend. So my object is bending with this deformation, and as you can see, put it in the input because this is the history, and this one I don't want to delete because it's the one that I want to keep to do some animations and whatever. So we can just change the bound. So now I'm just doing these on the low bound, the high bound, and wherever you need. So you can see we can even create that pretty easy with just bend. Let's put it at 0, and let's create also a sine, which is a mathematical form. If I add the amplitude, you can see the sine going there, and the wavelength. We can create a lot of wavelength, a lot of frequency, repetition, not that much repetition, and the offset to make it go. This is a sine, right? Same thing with the low bound and whatever. So as you can see right now, if I select, I have two inputs. The first one is the one that will have more importance, and the second one will apply just after the first one. So the order goes from down to up. So here the bend is the important one, and it will bend before it will sine. You can right click here and go to sorry about that, a lot of time, all inputs right here, and now I have two inputs, sine and a bend. With the middle mouse I can change the direction, and now you will see that the bend is up and the sine is down. So now when I bend, it will bend from the sine, not the other way around. I know it's not easy to see with the sine and the bend, but it was just to explain it. So all the deformers in Maya have an envelope. This envelope can be turned to 0. So now there's no deformation at all. To 1, just to activate it. And you can play with this number and put it at 0.5, 1. So now it's half sine. And you can also paint it. It's not like Houdini. If you come from Houdini, don't think that you can paint attributes as is as useful as it is in Houdini. It's not easy. It doesn't work that well. But the deformers you can paint. So if I hit the right button and just paint nonlinear deformer, as you can see, I have the weights for the bend and the sine. Let's paint the sine. By default is 1, which is white. I can open the paint and you will see the paint tool right here. So if I replace the value for 1, everything will be the same. If I replace the value for 0, as you can see, every vertex will have different values. Okay. You can shift and smooth it. You can just add a little bit, add with the B key from Barcelona. Hold it and you can change the radius. So I can add 0.1 and paint it like that. We'll paint the weights on the rig. We will not paint these deformers that much, but just for you to know that it exists. And you can flood like 1, replace everything, value of 1, flood it, and that's pretty much it. Okay. We can change some of the options right here. I let you do it. Okay, so let's remove everything, and I will hit just here. You can see we have the handles, which are the ones that we were changing, the sine handle and the bend handle. When I select this one and delete the history, they disappear because there's no deformer, so the handle doesn't need to be there, and Maya just delete. So there's another, just an example, a really good one, really old one. This is how they did things in the old days. Is a lattice. So let's say I want to deform this cylinder, but not that, but it has a lot of points and it's really hard to make like smooth deformations. I can create a lattice, and if I hit Ctrl A to get the attribute, as you can see, I have some subdivisions here, so I can create 4, 4, and 4, something like that, or whatever. And now let's keep it at 2 and 2, so it's easier. Maybe we'll put a couple more there. Yeah, something like that. In this case, it's better to use an odd number to get these. So now I can just grab the lattice point and move that around. And I can just grab some points and move them around and deform the cube in a really nice way, just touching some points and not that many points that the cylinder has. Okay, now that we have that, let's grab the cube again, and I'll shift D to delete the history, and let's go to the most used ones. So I will just duplicate this and move it. I'm moving the transform, remember, I'm not doing the shape, and that's why I can do that. Let's grab vertex right here, hit B, Barcelona again. Let's move it like that and go to object mode again. I can grab this one, then this one. Let's do another one. Okay, I can grab this one, and the last one that I grab is the one that will get the information, and I will create a blend shape. Blend shape deformer is one of the most useful. You can do a lot of things with blend shapes. You can see right here. By the way, every time that you create a deformer, you can see it here in the attribute editor, and you will see a shape of rig. What's that? This is the shape without transforming, without changing. This is the basic shape that Maya needs to calculate the difference between what I was and what I am right now after deformation. We'll see it in a minute. So if I just continue, I have the blend shape, and it has polycylinder 3 and 2. So I can just move it, and it will create a blend shape. Blend shape is a linear interpolation between two positions in the vertex. So it's going from 0 to 1, from the original position to exactly this position. And because I moved the transform and not the shape, this is not moving. So I can do both of them, and I can play with them. By the way, you can see right here the time range, so I can just click and set a key right here, and I can go around frame 40 and put it like that. I've got my auto key, it's down there, so now it's already keyed. If I select the blend shape node, as you can see, there's nothing here, but if I select the blend shape node, you will see the ticks, the red ticks right there. And maybe here I will create a key, and I will do something like that. And maybe here they will be something like that. They will do something like that. And we will go back to 0. So now if I hit play, you will see we have this really good animation. So that's animation. We will do a brief explanation of animation, but you now can do blend shapes and do some animation. So I will grab again this one, and I'll shift D. So we have no history, and when you do Alt Shift D, it usually deletes the shape of rig. Sometimes it doesn't, so keep in mind that and just delete the shape of rig yourselves. If you don't know how to do that, if you want to select something from here, you just have to select it. So I have my blend shape node, I can select it and hit delete in my keyboard, and I don't have anything at all. And I have the shape of rig, so I will select it and delete it, and now I just have my shape. If I select my shape and delete it, I just have a group, which is a transform. Transform and a group are the same thing. Okay, so now that we have that, let's see the last deformation that we will see. And in this one, I will just hit space and right click and go to the right view, hit F, frame it all, and I will go to animation, start rigging, and I will create some joints. So joints are really the representation of what their name says, joints. Just like joints in real wall, they are used to deform a geometry. So now that I have a couple of joints right here, you can see I just hit space bar, right click, right view. You can see that I can rotate this joint, and this joint is its parent. As you can see here, the hierarchy. This is joint 1, this is joint 2, and they need like this extra joint just to draw it. So this is joint 3, and I will select just those two, shift select my geometry and skin it. Skin, just bind skin, reset settings, and I will say to bind just the selected joints, the ones that I have, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so now I have this already skinned to my joints. That's pretty great. So now I can do whatever I want with that. You can hit this button here, so make some X-ray for the joints, so I can still move them around, and I can do whatever I want with them, and they are moving my geometry. So how does this relate? How do you define the relationship between joints and a geometry? Just painting weights, which is pretty nice. It's pretty entertaining to do. So I will open this with a double click. With just one click, you open the tool. Let's see the tool. This is the tool, and double click is the tool settings. Same thing here. So this is the tool, this is the tool. But if I click here, double click, I have that. Okay. And to get the last tool is a QWERTY software, remember? So it's the Y key to get the last tool, which is the one that keeps here. Okay. So as you can see, I can paint same. We were painting the envelope really on the deformers. I can paint for joint 1, and which is the influence of joint 1. So as an example, I will paint it at 1 with opacity of 1, and this is going to follow just this joint 1. If I change it to joint 2, you will see that all of these will follow joint 2. I think it's pretty easy to understand. So now all these vertices are following this joint. So obviously what we need is to create something that goes in between, right? Just around here, maybe around the base of the second joint, and maybe something like that. Okay, so now we have that. It's not that smooth, but it's something, and we need to smooth it out. And to smooth it out, I always use the Brave Rabbit smooth tool. I will show you in a minute, but I already have it here. This is an amazing tool. You will see it. So I will just select that and double click that, and we can just with middle mouse and drag, create a radius and just smooth that out a little bit. It's kind of magic. Yeah. So now I have that, and this is doing like nice form. Maybe that's too smooth, so you can always paint it a little bit more. One thing that I usually do is something like that. So I will go to faces. I will select one and double click with shift the other one. So now I have a loop. Then I can hit the greater than key in your keyboard, or shift that tool, and we can grow the selection. You can do that right here, grow selection, and get to the middle point. Great, something like that. And now I will hold Control and right hold my mouse to go to vertices. So I have these vertices. Now I can paint with my paint tools, and I can, whatever I paint here doesn't matter, because with a selection it doesn't paint the select, it just paint the selection. So I can just flood these. Great. Now that I have that, and I know these are my faces, I can start with this one, maybe, and you can get just one of the two. You don't need every one, because now when I hit Control and go to vertices, everything is selected, and then I will paint that with join tool. You can also right click on top of a joint and select the influence that way. So it's the same thing right here, but when you have a lot of them, it's easier to just right click and select the influence. And I will look that also, and then I will select this, grow the selection a little bit, go again to vertices, and then do the smooth. See, now it's behaving much better. Sometimes I paint by hand because I'm loving this part, but this should be a little bit more smooth. So this is maybe to match it. You get the idea. And if you want to do some more smooth, let's put really, really small strength there and paint a little bit of that so it gets nice deformation, and you will see we have a really nice deformation right there. Okay, so let's create our first character, and this is going to be, again, this one. I will love this one, a really good one. And maybe we'll do a vision, maybe not yet, I don't know, not yet. Not yet. Yeah. Okay. So when you load something in Maya, it comes with a namespace, which is this name, character Vis. And you can see here two dots and a Vis person. So this is a namespace. You can just go in Windows namespace editor, and you will see right here we have this namespace. This is great when you start bringing rigging for animation. We'll see that. But right now we don't need that, so we'll just delete it, merge with the root. There's nothing, and now we have this. That's nice. And we will create some joints to deform and animate this man. Okay, so first things first, we'll go to the right view and we will start doing some joints here. Let's go to rigging. Let's create some joints. So I will try and see more or less for the femur starts. We'll be doing much complex things in the future, but this is like a basic thing. Okay, let's see how the joints really work, because you can see right here that in my translations, I have some translations right there, which is 0 and negative -1 and x0. If I move it, let's move it in the wall space, x, something like that. Now x is moving, but this one has just translate x, and you can see translate x is z now. Why is that? Because the orientation of a joint is usually the x-axis. So it's just moving on the x-axis of its parent, really. This is 44 units, 44 centimeters away from this one in this direction. Okay, so that's why when I move just in X with this one, it doesn't work. But if I go here and select the parent, which is, I don't remember where it is. I think we can do it right here. Yeah, the parent, you will see that the parent direction is that one. So this joint is not rotating or moving or anything, it's moving right there because this is the direction of the parent. Okay, so also take a look at that. This is rotated, this is not going straight, and this is also rotated, and rotation are 0. Why is that? Because In Maya, joints are not really transforms in shape. They are like a unique thing that has two transforms there. One is the transform, the usual transform, and then you have the joint, which has a joint orient. So you can see if I hit Control and left click, this is the orientation it has. If I put that to 0, you will see it's exactly a straight line from its parent. So this rotation that I have here is the rotation in the z-axis of z. That's pretty important. Why? Because we can have 0 values in the rotation. We will see why this matters. So let's just move it right here, more or less. And now, because I rotated, I have rotation value. Another thing that you have to be clear about is the gimbal. I don't know if you know what a gimbal lock is, but if I hit E for rotating and hit the left mouse button, I can rotate it by gimbal. Gimbal is a thing that happens in real world also. If you have something that is rotating in 3 axes, you can get something like that, where 2 of the axes are the same. So now if I want to rotate in Z, it's exactly the same as in X. This is called gimbal lock, and we try to avoid this as much as we can, always. So to try to avoid that, you have to play with the rotation order. This happens in every software, really. It's a thing that happens in three-dimensional space. So right now, as you can see, if I move the y-axis, the x is going with it. If I change the rotation order to that one, as an example, now the y-axis doesn't move anything, and the z-axis will move the y-axis. As you can see, the z-axis is moving the y-axis, and the x-axis are moving everything, right? So the last one is the one that will move everything. You can see here, if I move the z-axis, it moves everything. So the most important one really be the last one. But it's not exactly like that. The most important one should be like the middle one, but we will see. So if you think of a leg, this rotation is not really important. This rotation can do something like that and like that. It's blocked. And this rotation is doing a lot. It can do a lot of stuff. So what happens when I've got here and I've got something like that? This is going to work and this is going to work. Yeah. So this is the best rotation for a leg, because we're changing this one and this one still moves. We can change this one and this one and this one still moves. And at the end of the day, we want this one to go up and down. But now I have some changes. Sometimes it's better to give this to the animator, and the animator will decide the rotator that he wants. We will keep it like that, just as a starting point. And again, we will try and rotate this a little bit. You can see now that I'm rotating in gimbal, I'm just rotating the y-axis, and here the z-axis, and the z-axis is not rotated as before. Okay, so more or less this should be it. Great. But now we have some values here. We could do one thing, which is just freeze transformations. And as you can see now, I have 0 values here, and here Maya just added up the values to the joint orient. So it changes these values. Let's hit Ctrl Z. As you can see, this is 90, this is -4, this is -7, -5. If I just freeze the transforms, this is 90 -7, this is -y -4. You know, it's just adding up all these numbers to keep it at 0 with the same orientation. So now it's oriented the same way, but the rotations are 0. I don't really like to work like that, but I will explain why in a little bit, but we'll keep it like that right now. Okay, so now we have our leg. let's just, if you hit Shift and the plus button, you can see all the hierarchy. So let's create a bone. Let's say that this is a bind, skin, bone, femur, left, and this is a bone. This is a bone, this is a joint. Let's put joint here, and let's name that. This is like tibia. This will be the ankle, and this will be toes. And we won't be using the last one for skinning, so let's call BE and toes left. Great. Now that we have that, we can duplicate the same thing on the other side because you should always try to make things symmetrical so it's easier to work with. So let's go to skeleton and mirror joints, and we can say that we want the Y and Z axis, and we can search for underscore L underscore and replace it with underscore R underscore. So now that we applied it, now I have femur R, tibia R, ankle R, everything goes. Okay, that's great. And because we did this with behavior, which is the one that I want, not orientation, now if I move them in the y-axis, they move like that. And the x-axis, as you can see, they are a mirror of themselves. And the z-axis is the same. This is how I like them to work. Okay, let's go to the right side again, and we will create another joint, and we will do 3 joints maybe for the belly and the chest. Will be like hips, belly, and chest, and then we'll do some neck and great. Let's just name them. This is again the end. We don't need side here. This will be hips joint. This will be belly. This will be chest. Important thing, I'm just double clicking and hitting Control V and Control C with names. This is the only place where you should use Control V, Control Z in Maya. You shouldn't do that at all. If you want to duplicate this chain, you shouldn't do Control C, Control V because it's going to break. It's going to do a lot of crazy stuff. Never, never do that for objects in Maya. You can do that for numbers, names, and that's pretty much it. If you want to duplicate this one, just hit Control D, D from Denmark, and Control D duplicates it. Okay. So we have here the head, and we will have here the end, head, jump. Great. So maybe you're thinking, why are you putting names? It's really important to put names there, and also really important to save. So I'm going to save right here. And so starting character, figures 1, great. Because it's pretty easier to do anything that you want when you have everything well named. And also because right here you can change that. Sometimes it's here, it's here. You can change that to select by name, and I can just write here BN and asterisk, and I have all my binding zones, so I can do that and skin. And that's a nice way to do it. Okay, let's try to go to the front side, and maybe you would think that I can do something like that. And I can, but I should. You will see why. Because now this one has the rotation like that. And this is not how you want this joint to behave. This rotation shouldn't be like that. This should be 0 rotation in that direction because we cannot bend our arm like that. We can just bend it like that. So you shouldn't do that, really. the thing is that I want this one to be more or less like that. So I will keep that one. And this is, if I keep the object, this is already looking at what it was looking at. So this is more or less well oriented. And I can put it around here. Like that. And I will go here and create my joints here. Something close enough. And maybe something. Because this is the plane they will do their rotations. And now they look like that. Sure. I can just go here in front view, put it more or less where the humerus has its pivot. Then I can rotate it. As you can see, it is rotating. And I can scale it and put it where it belongs. This is a way of doing it. There are a lot of them. And maybe we can do another one, which is going to the top view. And from a top view, draw. It's more or less the same because this rotation is the one that matters, but this is on the same plane as the other one that we draw from the right was like that on the same plane. So this one is not rotating on that axis. Okay, maybe we can use that one and put it here where it belongs. Let's do something like that. And we'll just scale it until we get to the elbow. That. Yeah. Let's put the geometries. We see the elbow is right here. It's this X loop. Great. So this shouldn't be that rotated. Well, this shouldn't rotate like that ever. So if you don't get that, don't do that, please. Just rotate this one in X. So we will have the other one what it should be. And let's put a hand right around here. Great. So we have that. And again, we can just freeze transforms and delete all these rotations. But I won't do that. No, I will explain why. So now I can grab this one and parent them together because this one was already looking at that. More or less works. It doesn't work nicely, but I really don't care because I prefer the scapula to rotate on like almost to the wall axis. So this is great. This will work pretty great. And let's open everything. And again, PN, this is going to be scapula or shoulder, left joint. And this is going to be humor. This is going to be radius, ulna, or you want. This is going to be the hand. And this is going to be the end hand. The hand, one, and left. Okay. So now I can grab this one and mirror the joints. We will be doing the fingers, so everything is perfect to continue. So we need to parent them together because when we move this, we want this to move, obviously. Same thing with that. So let's do that just now. And we'll grab those two and the chest and hit P to parent them together. Same thing with that. And I will hit P. One thing I will do is create a center right here, maybe something around here. Okay, but I just need that. So this will be my center. And if you want to change the drawing, you can get this radius and make something that really huge. This is not going to be this is going to be root, not BN, because we will not be using it to skin something. This is going to be the father of everything. So now I can grab this one and move everything and rotate everything from the point, center of gravity usually, But I can grab this one and move the upper body, and I can just grab the legs and move the legs. Okay, that's pretty nice. So when you are doing a character, it's pretty important where you put your joints. You should look at anatomy, and we will be doing muscles and bones. So it's really important to make them um, as you should do it, and make it in the place. And the placement is pretty important. Right now, I'm happy with that, but just keep in mind that sometimes you have to change and do a lot of research and a lot of trial and error to get the position right. So another thing that is pretty important is to get this done. Right now, there's nothing here, so I will just hit Control G and deselect. Control G, select something, Control G. I'm just creating empty groups right there. So this is going to be the asset, like the main parent. This is going to be the geometry. This is going to be the joints or skeleton, whatever. And this is going to be the controls. Just controls. Great. So now I can grab geometry, put here, parent it. You can also middle mouse drag, and put the skeleton, and I will have all those and put it in the asset. So everything is pretty clean. We have an asset so with some skeleton, some geometry, some controls, and the skeleton is here, and also the skeleton has its own hierarchy, and the geometry is here. So now that we have that, we can start weighting. We will skin deform this character in the next one. Okay, so let's continue. And I just realized that I made a mistake here because I said I won't be having any freeze transformations here, but you need some freeze transformations. So I will delete these ones and I will grab these ones and I will try to make the same position, but with my joint orient to 0. So I will have to rotate this a little bit, and something like that. It's great. Now this one is going to be 0, and then this rotation Y will be something like that. I will just explain why this in a moment. Same thing here. I will just put it 0, and I like how it looks. Maybe a little bit of that. And I have some numbers here. So now my orient in the arm is 0. Why would I want that? So when I do something that you can change here the rotation, but it will just get the unit rotation. If I hit Control A again, Control A switches between attribute editor and channel box. In the channel box, I can get all the rotations and put them to 0, and I have a perfect straight line. This is really, really useful for doing some motion capture and getting some animations done with the arms. So you can do that with all the joints really and make some rotations. And when you put them to 0, they are like straight up or straight in X in the case of the arms. It's something that I just recommend if you're going to use some motion capture, which I guess we will get some animation from Mixamo and do some stuff. So it's easier that way. Okay, so now that I have that, I can just grab this one and mirror it. If it's parented, it's already parented, so everything's nice. And again, we have this behavior. Well, it's moving like that. That's perfect, but that's perfect. Great. Okay, now that I have that, we can start just waiting. Oh, remember we have the naming change, so we have this here. And one thing we can do is just select this one as an example. It has some scale there. As you can see, some of them have some scale there. So we can freeze transforms, but just in scale. So if I freeze transform the rotate, as you know, everything will be 0, not the translation, but the rotation of the scale. This is not what we want. We just want the scale to be 1. And it does the same thing for the child. joints. You can see everyone is at 1, but they have their rotation. That's great. Perfect. So now we can start weighting this one. I will grab the geo and maybe I will just duplicate it with H, Control D to duplicate, H to hide it, just to keep it in case we do something wrong or we want to do anything else with this one. We can subdivide a little bit to skin, but let's start with this one. As you know, with 3, we can smooth it, looking at it smooth, so it's pretty nice. So let's grab my pen, asterisk, all the joints, shift select my skin, and go to skin cluster, bind skin. So selected joints is nice. We have a lot of methods right now. You can see what they do. Let's just choose closest distance and apply it. And now you can see what happened here. This is how it tries to skin it by default. It's not really great. That happens because this point here is closer to this joint than to this one. So because it's going to do distance, that's what happens. Let's just hit Control Z. So now we don't have shape and we don't have skin cluster. This one doesn't use the other two ones. This one this is like an older way of doing things. Sometimes it works, but it's really picky with some kind of geometry. And geodesic voxel, it tries to do a voxel. If you come from Houdini, you know what a voxel is. So it's like a volume, and it's much nicer. It's a little bit slower, but it's much nicer. You can see now this is working much better by default, but it's not perfect at all. So we will have to paint some. This is working pretty nicely. So yeah, I will keep it like that. Usually the smooth transitions work pretty well. As you can see, they have pretty smooth transitions and they look really good. Not the head though, head never works. But the hard transitions, they are not working that well. It's not a good job for not doing anything at all. But if I hit the 3 and you see it subdivided, you will see it's losing a lot of volume and it's doing like straight sticks. So as you know, we can paint, and as promised, this is the plugin that I use from Red Rabbit, Smooth Weights. It's amazing. It does a smooth on the weighting. It also do a delta mesh, which is a deformer that tries to keep the delta, which is the original position of the points. The difference really between where we are now and where we were in the original position. So you can also do that, by the way. You can just create here a delta mesh. Where is delta mesh? Right there. And now it will try to keep the same positions. You can see this is without delta mesh, this is the weighting, and with delta mesh, it tries to keep the volumes it originally had. You can add more smoothing iterations. Let's put something like 50. And you will see now that we have some nice deformations. The problem with that is that they are moving a lot. You know, these vertices maybe doesn't have to move that much when the arm is led. Again, with the smooth, it works pretty well. Let's just put it again and see how this works. You can see this is not working at all. For sure, we can paint the delta mesh and just use it in the smooth transitions and not in the hard ones, like the elbows or the knees, but that doesn't really work. So I will hit Control Z until I don't have delta mesh. Oh, by the way, there's a thing that will happen, because if I just move this joint and I want to be on the default position, I can just grab them and put it 0. But if I grab these ones, there's a lot of values here. So if I want to get to the rest pose, it's pretty simple. You just go to the skin bind pose, and that's pretty much it. It works with everything. You can move whatever you want and do really crazy stuff. I think this is not going well. We will fix that. Go to bind skin, and everything is go to bind skin. So it keeps the bind skin. How does he know? How do you know that? So it keeps the values of the joints, and it also keeps what I told you before that I will show you, which is the shape of rig. Here we have this person shape of rig. And if I just hit on display, this shape is an intermediate object, so it's height. But if I click that, you will see this is my character before the formation. That's how how the software knows where we were, so he can deform everything that's needed. Okay, so now that we are here, we can start painting some weights. I will start from down to up. Yeah, this is pretty much what this is not working at all. So let's try and start painting that. There's a thing that happens here. If I just hit vertex and I try to select these vertices, it will select the joints. This is because the joints are this kind of special object that Maya thinks that if you have something, if you're selecting something in a joint, this is the one that has the priority. I think you can change the priority, but I don't really care because you can hit F8 to go to component mode, and in component mode you can change to vertex or faces or whatever. And because the joints doesn't have any components, so it won't get them. And we can select all these points. Maybe you can select it with the lasso tool, all those, wherever you prefer. Maybe, yeah, I think these ones would be great. Changing with 4 and 5 between wireframe and smooth shape, pretty easy. So let's start painting. It's going to be fast enough. I will just select the influence and I will plot everything. There's some software like Engine Skin Tools or things like that that does this process automatically to get just one value for the closest joint. So you have like this hard weighted everywhere, but I prefer to do it myself just to be sure that I'm doing what I want. So I think this one is pretty nice already. Let's just try and do something like that. Oh, again, let's see. Yeah, because we use the geometric voxels, you don't have weights from the other side. That's a really good one, especially in a character like that that has the legs so close together. It's easy to get this joint to deform some points on the other leg. So, okay. As you can see, this topology is not fine at all. You shouldn't have never have a star of 6 edges. Never. 5 is good, 6 is bad. And also there's a lot of things there, but I don't really care. It's just an example. So let's try to do something like that. And again, as you know, we can just select these, oh, come, these, make these vertices, and I will paint that with this influence 100%. And I can select, I don't know how can I do that here, but I will try that. Yeah, make that. That one, make that one, and I will paint that 100%. And I'm already liking this. This is pretty good. This is doing some curve. The geometry is not that good, so the curve is not that good, but it's doing something pretty nice. And this is not. We don't have that many points, so we won't have great deformations, but just as an example, I will smooth that a little bit. So we have like this thing going, which you can read maybe. Oh, it's not really well oriented, but okay. So let's go to my line pose. I don't know why. Yeah, this too. Yeah, pretty well. Okay, don't worry about that. We would change the orientation on this joint because, as you can see, it's going inwards. It's a really strange pose by default, so maybe it will work more or less. Yeah, it can work. Yeah, the geometry is doing strange things there. But okay, great. So now I think this is working already pretty nicely. You should look at all the points, how they're moving, and this is really smooth, but we're not losing that much volume and silhouette in the back, so this is nice. And at the end of the day, we're always looking at the formations of the points, how they are moving, and the silhouette it creates. This is maybe too much, but we'll keep it that way. This is just an example on showing how to do things. Okay, so let's grab the hand and try to do something with the hand. As you can see, nothing is working. We will do the same thing. F8, we can go to vertices and maybe do a lasso selection. These ones, Y to, not this, because we don't want this, we want that one. And we have to select the influence and put it. I will just do that pretty quickly. Maybe this is the one, right? Yeah, this is okay. So great. Y, select influence, look. See, this is pretty fast once you know what you're doing. Okay. And that one, look. Great. So now let's see how this works. It's great. Okay. And that's pretty nice. Yeah. In fact, that's pretty nice. Yeah. Because we don't have that many polygons there. We can have something like that, and it's pretty much working. Maybe we can just grab those two and convert it to vertices and try to smooth it a little bit. Just a little bit. And yeah, we have nice silhouette and nice. Great. Great. Okay. So again, my pose. Most difficult part is this one. I will keep it as it is. You can imagine how to change that and how to do some arrangements there or some changes. Just trying to paint and change and paint and change. Playing with that. It's pretty funny, really. I really like the workflow and the way you paint things. So paint again, go to vertices. I will select everything that is not neck, something like that. Great. And I will paint everything with the head. So now we have this moving pretty nice. Okay. One thing we can do, one, is to create delta mass that we have. So we will do a delta mass at the end of the day with lots of iterations, maybe 30, 5, 50, and you will see that now our arm is not bending correctly. But we can paint. Let me just save. This is Maya. You should be saving a lot. And we are spinning the character. Okay. And we will paint a little mesh. So it's not, there's also like this symmetry and reflection, yes. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. So I can paint it that. Maybe if you don't want to wait much, you can activate the symmetry, the object, 8, and I can grab like these ones, and I can grab those ones, and I can go back to paint, and I can flood 0 back. If you want, you can just paint again, and without any selection, do a couple of smooths, so the transition is smooth. And now we have this thing working as we had it, but here we have a delta match that is trying to keep the volume, and it's going to be a nicer job in keeping volumes and deforming things. The head is more or less working, so I will keep it that way. But now that I think of it, you should always keep that out of any other deformer, because we're going to do some blend shapes just to show them on. Okay, let's paint that 0. Let's grab a couple more and do smooth. Okay, so now we have our character already weighted and it's moving and everything is working, so we can start doing some animation if we want. Not at all, because we don't have this side. That's right. So this is pretty easy. I did the left side, the X positive. You can see right here, this is X positive. So I can go to copy skin weights and copy closest point on surface. It will already, sorry, not copy skin weights, mirror skin weights. Yeah. So positive X to negative X, and in the Y and Z axis, and just closest point of surface 1 to 1, 1 to 1. This is pretty standard, and now this has the same weights that the other side. Obviously, you don't have to weight both sides. So you have everything working. Now we can just save that and try to rig this character a little bit so we can do some animation. Okay, so now that we have that, we can start moving and we can even try to do some animation. Sure, we can just hit S and it will key all the channels. See, we can hit Shift W to key just translations, Shift E to key the rotation, Shift R to key the scale. I will key the rotations here, print 1, and I will raise the arms. And because I have auto key, I don't have to key it anymore, but every change will just be keyed. And let's see what happened. So now this is moving correctly, so you can do some animation here. But as you can understand, animating that way is not going to be really useful, because I cannot move this and you know, and make the knees bend or something like that. So that's not useful. That's why we need a rig. And rigging is a real technical art of the job, and you can go crazy really with a lot of things. We will try to keep it simple, and for this we will try to do a couple of controls to move it and understand what FK and IK are, so we can do both of them if we want, especially in the arms. I think we will do it. But okay, let's begin. So first things first, we need something to control, and we usually use curves. As you can see, we have curves right here. We can create a circle right here. We can create a square right there. Bad thing about the square is that it's not merged together. I don't like that. And that's pretty much it. Comes in Maya. There's a lot of scripts and plugins and wherever to create controls. I will show you how to create controls just by hand. So it's going to give me an excuse to show a couple of things. Let's hide this asset for now, and let's try to draw a curve. So this is the draw curve tool. We can go to the top view and we can start doing some curves. You can see you can do any shape you want. And if you want to close it, you can go back to modeling and curves and open close, and this will close the curve. So now I have some vertices here to play with. Actually, that one. This is because I'm doing cubic. I can also do Beziers. So you can see if I go to the control vectors, these are Beziers. So you can move that and they behave like that. I can also do linear curves, so they don't do any curve at all. They are like a straight lines put together. So if I want to do a square, let's go to the 0 here. I can just hit that, and with the X button, I can just do that. And now I have a square. Maybe we want to square something. So I will save that square control. Okay. We have also the circle control. Same size, which is 10 in that case, I guess. Yeah. And again, I will delete the history and freeze transformations. Keep in mind that we changed that. So if now I hit freeze transforms, it will only freeze the scale, which in this case doesn't matter, but just to remember, or you can reset and do it like that. Okay, so now we have that. Let's say we want a cube or more different shape. You can build a cube with that one for sure. So if I duplicate this one and this one, you can do something like that and create a cube. How to do that? I want to show you that everything that I have been done since that point until that point is here. I have the script editor here. You usually have it here. And all this is exactly what I am doing. Let's just delete that and see what I mean by that. If I select the circle, this is select circle control. This is mel, which is the, as you can see here, mel. If I hit here, I can do it in Python, and which is the programming language in Maya. You can see that if I select the square, select them both, move them, everything I do is registered here in my script editor. This is really, really nice. So you can imagine we can do a lot of stuff with that. Just as an example, I will create another tab here, mel one. I use Python mostly, but you can just grab this one, put it here, just hit play. And as you can see, I selected the circle using mel, using programming. So we'll not do a lot of programming in this course, but just to get something, it's pretty nice. Just an example, let's create a square. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Something like that, which is our scale. Nice. Let's hide H once. By the way, if you have something selected with H is the toggle visibility, as you can see here. Okay. So now I have that one. And what I will do is I will erase everything. I will bring up my linear curve tool. I will delete everything, and V, I will start snapping on the vertices. So now I really have this square. This is a really nice trick. So let's grab this one and let's start drawing our cube. So we need those. We can even play a game on how long it takes for you to create this kind of shape. I'm not very good at that, but I know that you can do it with less. Okay, so now that I've got that, you can see I've got this curve. And this curve is really defined by this line. This is a huge line, which is defining really all the points that I did. First points were in 5, 5, 5, 5 minus 5, 5, which are the coordinates in the XYZ space. So I can just grab all of these. Let's go to my rigging tab and middle mouse right here. This is a script, and let's call it, I will call it, a tooltip will be cube, and the name will be cube. And now I can delete both of them. I can create a cube, and voila. Because just as we copy and paste this and put it here, I just did the same thing. Instead of just putting here to make it go, I can just drag it as a button up here, no button, and we created our first button in the shelf that creates a cube. That's pretty amazing. So you can do a lot of things with script editor and programming, but this is just as an example. Also, as you have seen, there's a lot of things that you can do with the shelves, just dragging with the middle mouse, and this is going to work. This is like a mail script. We can do something in Python really easily. Let's create a group, and the group, just an example, if I hit that, I have my group here, this is group, and I can just select all of that, move it right there, and this is a Python one, and this will be called create group something, create group something. And now I can create subgroups. See, create all groups I want. Okay, just as an example, we can do all of that. So now we have our controls right here, and we can start doing things. One thing that's pretty important is that if I want to animate this one, but I want to have some curves, some constraints in it, and I want to follow some things. Maybe this will be like the hips. The hips won't follow anything, but maybe I want the shoulders to follow the hips. All of that. It's pretty important to create groups on top of that. Now that they are all at the center, they are all with the pre-transformations. They have no transformations, no history at all. So this will be like a cube control. Great. So I will just hit G a couple of times. So this will be like group control, maybe. You can do as many as you need. I will call it offset, but you can do a lot of them. But I don't want to write this. So let's just create it a couple of times and delete those ones and just drag this one here and this one there. So now I have 3 groups with another group inside and then the control. This is great. Okay, so let's start doing something here. So first things first, we will try to get this cube as an example, and I will hide my geometry. You can also, here in show, you can hide the curves, and that's done because the rig, it's mostly done by these curves, so I can see the character moving without the curves. The polygons and image planes, and you can see the hotkey right there. So I will just hide the polygons and everything will be fine. So let's grab the square and let's just move everything out so we can do this nicely. Let's have the cube one, yeah, and Control D, and with the V key, I will snap it here. That's great. If you want to change something, you can scale the group or whatever, but it's easier to go to the control vertex and just remember keep F8 to get that, and maybe make it a little bit smaller, or if you want, maybe you can just go here and move it in Y, and with the X, just snap it to the floor, so we know that here our character is touching the floor. Yeah. By the way, you can, the last thing that you did in any of those or those menus with the middle mouse, it's going to toggle it. So now it's toggling the buttons. Okay. Same thing if I just hit Alt to here. Okay, so now I have my cube control from my pit. That's really, really nice. And let's do another thing right here, which will be change the names. So instead of cube, I will call that like pit control, maybe. This will be like group pit offset, and this will be like group pit control. And in the case of pit, I can do L underscore L, same thing here, underscore L, and pit underscore L. Great. So we can just duplicate it, Control D, go here, put minus front, and we have the right pit. I did it that way because we have a nice tool in Maya where you can just select all of them or just the parent and go to search and replace names. So let's search for L and replace it with R in all the hierarchy of the object. So now this is the R. Okay. So now we have those. They are moving as they should, but they are not rotated as they should. Thing that we can do is try to mimic what we have with the joints, that they do this, or maybe not. This is not like a preference, but you can just scale it in -1, and now I guess that we will have what we need. Great, this is working great, and this is working great. Okay, let's keep it that way for now. It's not a really good idea to do that. You should do that. You can do that in other ways, but it usually doesn't bother that much. So don't worry too much about it. Okay, now we will try and grab maybe our circle. Yeah. And we will duplicate it, and with the V, we will put it on hips. I'm sure that we will have to scale it up. Don't worry if you have transformations on your groups. This is completely fine. This is the one that we need really to be at 0, because when we put everything at 0, it will get to that pose that we already are in. Okay. And I will try to do the same thing. So this will be hips roll, this will be hips offset, and this will be hips roll. Great. And now I can just duplicate that one, put here, duplicate that one, put there. Let's go all the way up. And duplicate that one, put it there. Okay. So now I can grab this, open my search and replace names, and search for hips. And in this case, it's going to be belly. So place, great. As you can see, everything is replaced. This one will be chest, thigh. This one will be neck, thigh, and this one will be apply. And I will just leave the numbers. Great. So now we have some controls for this. Maybe we'll create another one. Let's create that one. All those, you can have them just oriented with the wall, because this is pretty nice behavior that we have, where we will rotate that and that will work. What we need here is another thing, which is let's move it and let's try to put it like that. But this one can be rotated just like that. Doesn't really matter at all, but not this one. So let's just rotate this one 90 degrees. Let's make it a little bit smaller. Okay. And I will keep it like that. Oh, I close that. Let's just switch the names. Let's look for head. Let's change head for scapula left. That. Yeah. One. And let's do the same thing. Let's put here again. Let's do negative X, and this will be scapula R. Now we have to change this with this. Okay, pretty easy. And what about these ones? Well, I can just grab that one, pull it that, and now I need this orientation. So it's pretty easy to do. There's a couple of ways of doing it. We can do like a constraint, as you know, without the offset, or we can just match transforms. So we can grab that one, that one, and modify match transformations. And in this case, we want the rotation. So as you can see, this is not what we want, but this is exactly what we want, because the axes are perfect, but our circle is not where it should be. So it's time to change some things. We could grab just the circle, just the shape, the transform, but with the shape of the circle, and rotate it 90 degrees, and then freeze transformations. But as you can see, as I freeze the transforms, there's something that's not right. The axes are changing. This is the x-axis, and as I freeze the transforms, this is the y-axis. And in this one, this is the y-axis, and this is the y-axis. So right now it's working great. Let's keep it that way. We could change it if we want. Don't worry about it. But okay. So now that I have that one, I can just duplicate it, hit this one, and again, match all transforms. I will do the same. This one, duplicate. You can hit G for the last thing that you did, so the match transforms. So now I have that one going there. Okay. So we can start renaming. Pretty easy. Search and replace names. Scapula R will be, well, you can just look for the name, really. That's it. That's it. And that's it. Okay. Great. Now we have to do the other side. And you will be tempted to do it like with a group, and that's when everything breaks. You know, if I try to grab all of that, all of that, and Control G, have a group right here, so I can duplicate it. I can do -1, and I've got my behavior as it should be, right? Yeah. But sometimes this creates some mistakes. We'll keep it that way and see if we get some mistakes. You should not do that. You should do one by one, but just for the sake of, I can raise that of speed, we will do it like that. So I can grab all of them and Again, with the search and replace names, I will look for L and replace it with R. And have a one here. Okay. So this will be my FK arm left group, let's say, and this will be the right. Great. So now we have everything, but nothing is connected. So you don't know what is what. So let's see how can we do that. Okay, pretty easy. So we need this to move with this, right? But I cannot parent this one because they are in subgroups. So what I need to do is to grab the parent of this one, which is this group, and parent it to this control. So I just selected both of them, and the last one will be the parent, and hit P. Okay, same thing with that. So I can grab all this group that has both of them and get the humor control and hit P. And again, I can grab this and hit P. So now I have a chain where everything is connected and everything is working. This is pretty nice. I will do pretty fast. Same thing. You can do it by hand, really, because I can grab group, this one, P, I can grab the group, this one, P, I can grab the group, and this one and P. Great. So now everything is working. Yeah, it looks like that. Great. And same thing here. So I will grab the head and parent with the neck. I will grab the neck and parent the chest. I will grab the chest, group the chest, parent the belly. I will grab the group of the belly and parent it with the hips. That's great. And sure, the joints are parented to the chest, so those two will be parented to the chest. Okay. So now I've got everything moving, everything seems to be working, but the joints are moving. That's for sure. Well, so what we need is an FK. What is an FK? An FK is forward kinematics, which is like direct rotation of the joints to do the animation. It's much easier to animate some of these in FK. It's not what professionals do. They usually use IK for almost everything, but we will try to do it just FK. So usually an FK should be like that. Just you grab the control, you grab your joint, and you create an orient constraint. In this case, we will maintain the offset. So now I can move that and my joint is rotated. If I open my geometries, you can see we already have control. What happens is that if I move that, it doesn't move. And that's how it should be. Because if I'm moving this joint, I'm changing the length of the joints. So I'm changing proportions. You shouldn't change proportion unless you're doing like a cartoon character with a squash, stretch, and all that. We are not doing that. And especially when if you're trying to do simulations and muscles and stuff, it really breaks the things a lot. It breaks a lot the setup when you have these kind of rigs. So it's better to keep it that way. So let's just do another constraint orient, and we will do all of them. This is the one, G, do you remember? I will grab this, G, this, G, this, G, this, G, 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 and that one goes with the chest, that goes with the belly, and with the hips, I will do a parent constraint because I want the hips to move, but I don't want to follow I don't want the knees to follow. I want them to bend, but we'll see that in a minute. So I will do parent constraint with everything. Great. So now if I move that, they are not moving at all, but you will see this is moving. In fact, I shouldn't do that. You should do really easier is maybe just create the orient constraint And that's pretty much it. It doesn't move. Great. And now we'll grab maybe the square, right? Yeah. And put it on that other joint that we have here, which is the hips joint. This one and this one will have back. So now I'm moving everything. Great. And for sure, all of that will be children of this one. So now I can move that. I know that the skeleton of the legs is moving, but and it seems like we haven't done anything, but you will see that we have done some. Okay, let's call that group. This will be COG maybe instead of gravity, something. Roll will be like gravity upset, and this will be like a roll. Great. So now what happens with the legs? Just try to imagine rotating that and animating that like that. So I want to do step. It's pretty impossible to keep in one place. Just to stand up. If I want to stand up and move my guy a little bit there, but keeping the feet on its position, you will see if I do an animation like that, it's impossible to keep it on the position. I could grab this one and maybe animate it like that, but you will have like this kind of weird behavior. It's going to be impossible to keep the feet on its way. So let me just save that. Rigging character one. Okay, so that's why we have IKs, and they invented IKs just for that. So this is the IK handle tool. We have a couple of them. This one is a single chain solver, which is just like a single chain without the knee going. Let's do it. Let's just do it, and you can see right now. I just hit the base and then the other one, and now I have an IK, which is this handle right there. If I move this one, you will see that my knees are bent. Great. But there's no way to tell the direction in that where the knee should be. So let's do a rotate planar solver, and you will see now that I can do the same thing, but now I have a roll or offset twist. I don't remember. Yeah, to do that. Well, in fact, twist, both of them have, but they have the pole vector. So let's do that, and we will create a pole vector. For that, maybe we can grab another cube. I will put it in the knee and move it forward. It's great. And I just duplicate that one and put it on the other side. We don't need behavior because the pole vector is just a translate, not a rotate thing. And let's say this is the group knee roll. That one will be group knee L offset. Let's put the L right there. And this will be knee L roll. Oh, roll. Yeah. So let's just delete one, duplicate that one, put it on the other side, and go to search and replace names, L to R. That's amazing. So let's create an icon handle with a rotate planar solver because we want this rotation. And let's do this first one, and then Y to select the last tool, and another one here. So now I can grab this knee control and control click the icon handle and create a constraint of pole vector. And you will see right now, this is moving. That's great. That's pretty great. You'll see that. That's amazing. We don't want that to move, so let's wait a little bit for that. Because first thing that we want is to create an orient constraint from the feet to this joint. So now this can move like that. And I have here my IP control, and I will create just a point constraint from this to this. So now I'm moving the IK handle. It's linked to my control of the feed, and I have this behavior, which is what I need. And now I can try and do a constraint all vector. Let's see, I don't remember if we have in the ball vector. No, ball vector doesn't have mental and look what happens when I create that. It changed the rest pose. This is not a really good idea. So what we can do is grab this knee control, which it doesn't have anything related yet. And we will grab this joint right there, and we will mass transforms. All controls. Yeah. So now our group is right here. I can just move it in the object space. So now I'm facing where I should face. So let's just put it like that. Let's put it at the same, just in this direction, the same plane. That. And we can make it like wall space if we want. Let's just put 0 here. But now that we have this in the place, let's write that. Each of them move that much. Great. Same thing here. I grab the group, I grab the joint, do a match form. Let's move this out and down. Let's try to put it in the same space that we have here, one or less, but in local space. So we're always facing the knee as the joint was facing it. So let's just do that. And we can create with the IK handle tool, we can create the ball vector constraint. Now this should be moving, great, moving, great. And again, I can move that and do that. That is amazing. We can do lots of stuff, pretty easy, pretty fast, pretty simple. Okay, I will stop here and we'll come back. Okay, so now we have a brick. It works. So let's grab maybe all of that and delete that, or maybe hide it. We can create all them. And we have a lot of controls right here. All of that. We cannot group it. We shouldn't do a group right now, or we should, but we could, but we don't need because we already created a control group right here. Maybe we can create another empty group for IKs. And this is IKP left IK handle. And give that, right? And we can put them in this and just put it in the asset one. So now we have this nice hierarchy right there. And just for animators, they don't like really to look at things like that. So they love to change things. So in the shape, we can go to object display and drawing overrides and enable overrides, and then we can change the color of that. They usually like something that looks some color. Usually they have this color, right? And the bad thing is that you have to do that for every one of them in Maya. You cannot do everything once, but that's why Maya was and is like one of the most popular softwares in the world. It's because you can do everything with programming. So of course I have some, I think it's a pretty old one, override color. You can get that for everywhere. It's free. It's from years and years ago. So I can do that, and I have already my right, left. So let's try to do something like that. Maybe these ones and all like that. So these that can be moved will be yellow, the other one will be blue, cyan, and blue for the right side, and red for the left side. We have everything great. And also we can change positions, but we cannot change positions. That this doesn't work at all. So what we should do is grab this and F8, and I will try to grab those points, and I'm changing the shape. Just remember at the beginning, we told the difference between a shape and a transform. I'm moving the shape, but the transform has its pivot where it should. So this is nice enough. Let's do the same thing here, maybe something like that. So it's easier to see. And if I move it on its object, I can move it down. That's great. Let's grab the head one and maybe put it like that. And neck one, it's going to be hard to get. That's not that maybe. I can grab the other ones. Maybe those two should be scaled. It's up to you, and it's an art to create this kind of forms and shapes and make them look as you want. Okay, I think that one should be a little bigger. Okay, grab it. And that one also a little bigger. I don't know if they are too small, but yeah, it has like this character has a really small feet. So okay, so this works. So we can get this out. We can hide the eyepiece on the skeleton page, and we have a fully workable rig where you can do everything you want. Okay, so a couple of things here. As you can see in the channel box, I hit S and everything is key. That's not really good, and it's a really good practice to keep things clean everywhere. So every time you do a custom wherever, control or object or whatever, it's really nice to lock all the things that you cannot do. So as an example, moving this one will be doing that, but rotating it doesn't make anything, and scale it doesn't make anything, and visibility, I don't want it like that. I just want to hide the controls, or as you know, hit Alt-1 and all the curves gone. So I will grab both of them and I will select everything but the translations and right click it. You can do a lot of stuff here with every channel. If you come from Houdini, this would be a parameter, really. Here they are called channels because attributes are another thing. But yeah, you can lock and hide selected, and now they are locked. You cannot rotate it, you cannot scale it, you just move it. And when I hit S, I just hit these ones. So let's do the same thing with that. I want to rotate that one and to move, not to scale. So lock and hide selected. That one, same thing. I want to move and rotate it. And all the other ones, I start selecting them from top to bottom. Oh, come on. Let's hide. You. That's one way to know that everything is selected. And we just want to rotate. So look at it. Okay, so now this is pretty clean. I just have the channels that I want. And what if I want to do another channel? So that's a really nice question. And I just keep one thing without doing, which is to rotate this joint. There's no control for this joint. So we won't be doing a control for this joint. We'll be doing an attribute and connect it to something. Let's try to do that. So let's grab both of them and in modify attribute. And I will create a new attribute called those. You can create vector, which are like three numbers, X, Y, Z, as an example, RGB. All of those are vectors. Float, which is a number with decimals. Integer, which is an integer, 1, 2, 3, 4. Boolean, which is on and off. String, which is a string, which is a word with characters. And enum, which will be like I will choose from some, as you can see here, green and blue, and I can add some more, and I can do like a switch. Okay, so I want to float with the default at 0, and I don't need a minimum maximum, so I will add it. As you can see, I have here a toes channel. That's great. So let's begin with our node X. Let's see what we can do. So let's grab this joint and bring it here, grab this control and bring it here. Okay, I don't need the shape because I created the attribute on the transform. And if I hit these buttons, you can see we can see a lot of stuff here, matrices and matrices and rotate order and whatever, and the translate and rotate, and all these channels are really these channels. It's not hard. And as you can see, we have a new channel called toes right here. You can change in the notator with 1, 2, 3 with that. So let's do 1, 2, 3 here. And I want to control the rotation in Z axis. So let's open rotate Z axis and let's connect those two. It makes a unit conversion because rotates goes in angles, but it really doesn't need to. Just Maya think. Don't worry too much about it. And you can see we have a yellow connection in the bone, the joint. Now, when I move my toes, as you can see, I'm doing this rotation 44.4. This is a 44.4 in Z. Great. Pretty easy, right? So if we want to play with that, we can play with some degree. We can do a lot of stuff really. Here, let's just do the other one, and then we will do another thing, a little bit more complicated. Okay, so again, those goes to rotate Z, and I can grab this one, and those are doing amazing. That's great. So now we can move it, we can do whatever we want. Just keep in mind, if you go up, we will have this kind of pop when the IK cannot reach. This is not a rigging tutorial, really. Even though we made a lot of rigging, but we have no time to do stretching and all these kind of things. But at the end, we have something that more or less works, which is what we need to understand what we will be doing. And again, I can move that. I can start animating that. So let's try and do another thing here, which is, there's a thing that's always really hard to get, which is this kind of rotation. As you can see, you usually put a couple of joints here, maybe 3, to create a rotation there. But I will try to do something different. For that, I will stop the video here and I will continue to explain blend shapes and how to create blend shapes well and how to do corrective blend shapes. Okay, so this one will be the interesting one, the one we will play with a lot in the next lessons. Just try to get nice shapes and try to get everything working. And this is really done sculpting, and for that we need blend shapes. Okay, So as you remember, we have here, let me save this one as B2. Okay, so we have perfect copy of our character right there. Let's do another one, Control D, and I want to move it. Just remember, we did the same thing with the cylinder at the beginning, just to create a blend shape. Okay, so let's say I want to create a blend shape that makes a blink. Okay, so I can grab this one and start playing with the edges right here. Maybe I can create an object X symmetry. It is symmetric, as you can see. Let's just use the default material so it's easier to see. And I can just do something like that. Let's add a little bit of smooth so it feels better. Okay, something like that. Yeah. So this can be a blink, right? So let's do blend shape. I will grab this one, then grab this one, and deform blend shape. Sorry, I have blend shape reset settings, and I will call that facial blend shape. Great. So now you can see we have my skin cluster, my delta mass, and then my facial blend shape. I can do that, and you will see it's working, it's blinking, that's great, and everything seems to work, right? Now, what's happening? Well, what's happening is, as I explained with the sine and the bend, the order of the inputs is pretty important. So what's happening is that I'm doing a skin cluster, but at the end of the chain, I have this blend shape. So I'm trying to match this position. This won't work at all, you can imagine. So what we can do is go to the inputs, and the blend shape with middle mouse will be the first one. Now we can move around the head and do the blink. Great. We know how to do blend shape, and we won't be doing this kind of blend shapes at all. So let's select the blend shape node and delete it. I don't want the blend shapes. I just want the skin cluster. This is by skinning. We spend a lot of time skinning maybe, and we have a rig, we have everything working, but we don't want that at all. Also, why do we have to have all the points here if we're working just in facial blend shapes? Doesn't make any sense, right? Okay, so let's try to do another thing. Let's duplicate the base thing that we had, and let's try, well, maybe you should be tempted to do that. Let's grab that. Maybe we can just select those around here, maybe delete, double click to get everything in delete. Now I have this one. I can do the same thing, right? Just scale to blink, and I will try to do blend shape right here, and I cannot do a blend shape because it's checking the topology. Let's change that and see if it can do it. It seems it can do it. Let's see what happens with this blend shape. Oh my God, everything's wrong. I broke it. Well, what happened really is that a blend shape needs to have two objects that are topologically the same. What is topology? Topology is all these points, all these vertices have a number. We can go to display in the polygons. We can choose to show the vertices or to show the, I don't remember how it was called here, component IDs, vertices. Okay, so as you can see, this point right here is the 761, 760, and so on and so forth. So if I go here, you will see this one is the 66, so 86. So he's trying to match the 86 with the 761, and it's not working. This is pretty important. This is like the bread and butter of everything that you will do in the technical aspect. As a character effects artist, as a character artist, you have to be pretty clear with three things. I call it the three little pigs. Three things are wall space, UVs, and vertex order. So if you remember the tale, there's three little pigs with and they build these houses. There's one that made like a really soft house, and then the wolf comes and he destroys the house. Then another one tries to make a wood house, and also it's not like hard enough, so the wolf can destroy it also. And the third one has like this brick built house where they all end up together and the wolf cannot go inside that house. So here is more or less the same thing. We have three things, and one is weaker than the next one, and it's weaker than the next one, or the other way around. One is stronger than the other. So the strongest thing we can have is vertex ID, is topology, is having the same number here. The second one would be UVs. They are pretty strong, and you can pass a lot of things using the UVs. Let's just do an example here, and let's try, and I will just use this one as an example. I have no idea if this has UVs. By the way, I don't know if I explained UVs. It's more a shading thing, but we can use it in our advantage in character work a lot. So UVs is a 2D representation of a 3D object. So I don't know if you have ever done a cube in school, but if you have to do a cube from cardboard, you should cut the cardboard like that, and then you fold it to create this cube. So what we do with UVs is unfold the cube to create the 2D image. Okay, so if I have that one and I have that one, as you can see, they are not in the same space. Let's do something even more complicated, like let's do a subdivision here. So they don't have the same topology, they don't have the same vertex order, because as you know, this has 4 times more vertices than this, but the UVs are exactly the same. Obviously, there's one that has more of them, but the UV space 0, 1 is exactly the same. So I can grab that one and go to an amazing tool in Maya, which is, I don't find it right now, I think it's a mesh, yeah, transfer attributes. So here we can transfer a lot of things. And we will try to transfer, yeah, that's it, the vertex position. So this strange form that I did, using what? Using the wall? No, because they are not in the wall space. Even if I put them together, they are not in the wall space because the points are not in the same space because of this thing that I did. What? The component or topology? No, because they don't have the same component, because they don't have the same methodologies. What do they have in common? UVs. So I can grab that one and that one, apply, and here you have, you can do some kind of plane shape using UVs. So this is pretty powerful, different resolutions, and you can blend things together and transfer things together. Great. This is like the middle point. So the strongest one is vertex order, the middle one is UVs, and the weaker one is the wall space, which would be something like that. They are in the same, let me just grab this number right here and copy it here. So they are in the same space, more or less. So I can copy some things using the wall space. Okay, now that we know the 3 little pigs, we can understand that we can do a lot of things here. So I will duplicate this guy even another time. Just hit Ctrl+1, get that, only that. And what I will do is maybe grab, I think that we can grab those. Yeah. let's grab those. That's great. And I will go to mesh, edit mesh, and detach. So now this is detached. Even you cannot see it, but the edge is split. So if I grab this object and I go to merge and separate, now I have a group, and inside I have two surfaces. That's great. Let's unparent with Shift P and I'll Shift D or delete history. So I have two. Great. This one will be a head, and this one is the body. What I will do is I will just make a duplicate of the head, and I will put it here, maybe 3 duplicates or something. Okay, that's great. And now I will grab another one. I will call it base head, which will be the base. I will hide it. And now I will combine them together. It's pretty important to combine selecting this first and this then. Why? Because if I do that, this will keep the vertex order as it is. And let's say that the last vertex here is 300. Well, the first vertex in the body will be 301. But all these vertices will keep the same vertex order at all these faces. So now I can just combine them. If I just combine them, you will see that we have some strange looking thing here because they are combined, but the vertices are not merged. So we need to merge them together. For that, we just do a merge, really, and you should put like the lowest value you can here, which is a tolerance. If they are exactly in the same spot, they will merge together. If they are not in the same spot, they won't, because sometimes there are some vertices that are really, really close. So let's try to put the lowest number here and merge it. Okay, this looks nice, and this is merge. Let's see without the merge. Okay, and if I just grab this face right here, you can see they are not stick together. Let's again do the merge. And now this is combined. Great. But the nice thing about that is that we have the same topology on the heads. So now I can start doing some things. That one, maybe what we did before. Maybe we can do something like that to make him smile a little bit more. Something like that. Maybe we can maybe put that like really angry face. Okay, let's call them angry. Let's call it smile, and this one will be blink. Okay, and this is our new body. Great. We'll hide this one, and we will get our base head. So we have a head with all the blend shapes, which is faster and nicer because we can just do animation in that one and we don't have to worry about the rest of the body. So we have all of them, and in rigging the form blend shape, and this will be like facial blend shape. We can check topology, but they have all the same topology, so everything's fine. Let's try and grab this facial, and you will see this gets angry, this gets smiling, and this is blinking. That's pretty nice. I can hide these ones. Right now we can delete it, but I will explain that in a little bit. So this is my base head. I like it like that. Yeah, we don't need anything more. And now I can grab my base head and my body and create another blend shape. So let's create a facial to body blend shape, as an example. And without the check topology, sure. But now, because they have the same, let's hide this. Because they have the same topology, you can see with the base head on, I can grab the other one and do the angry and do whatever I want. So this one will be the animatable one, which is this one. And because we have a blend shape from here to here, if it's not connected, if it's connected, this is how it looks. So this looks great. That's an amazing technique because you can do whatever you want here. It's going to be much faster because this character will have just one blade shape, just this one. And this can have hundreds of blend shapes. I really don't care because this is just the driver for this one. Okay, that's great. So now that we know how to do that, we will do another thing a little bit more complicated in the next one, just to wrap things up. Okay, I will save that one as blend shape sample, but we won't be using that at all. So we can delete everything. And we have, again, the one that we already had weighted. And we will use that for the next, for some lessons, for doing some kind of simulation and some stuff. So we'll keep it like that, but we will do subdivision. So I can do right now a subdivision, but as you know, it's going to be in the inputs. It's going to be later, and you will see that it will make everything go much slower. Not that much because it's not that many. Geometry have like 10,000 words, not that much at all. But it's going to be, because we have this kind of deformation right here, it's going to be much slower. So what we will do is we will do the same thing that we did, or I shouldn't. Let's do it again pretty quickly. I prefer this one. Okay, so let's go to edit mesh and attach. Let's do again separate. Let's grab all of them. Let's get the page just to have it. And let's grab this one and this one. But before we do that, what we will do is to do a subdivision. Yeah. I think if I do the subdivision like that, it won't be the same exact point, but okay, let's try it. So I have those two. I will do the history so we don't have any inputs. I will delete this. I will grab both of these and combine and then merge. I think it's this one. Yeah. Merge together. Let's see. It didn't work. Yeah, it worked. Yeah. We have this. It's good now. Okay. I should have subdivide first and then do the tags, but don't worry. Okay. So now I have this subdivided mesh and I have this, which is called base head one. And then we have this that will be the body. And now we want the body to move with this one. So there's a lot of ways of doing that. One way would be doing a wrap. So we have this lower mesh, we have this height mesh, and the wrap is the only deformer in Maya that goes the other way around. You usually get the source, then the target. In this case, we'll get the target and then source, and we will do a wrap. Keep in mind, be careful, don't click that. Please don't click that. It will make your computer explode. Click here and use exclusive bind. If you don't use exclusive bind, it will break. So let's do that. Let's hide the lower mesh. And now the higher mesh will move with the lower mesh. So that's one way to do it. That's great. And it's working pretty nicely. We can have everything we had with a wrap. You will see that we have some kind of mistakes here and there because we don't have that much resolution. And this is going to be also pretty slow because we are breaking the chain, really. Maya from, well, maybe it's like 10 years now, they have this um, parallel evaluation mode where everything can be put in the GPU geometry-wise, and the GPU will make all the calculations. But the thing is that if you have something that is deforming and that thing is deforming another thing that is deforming, it will be really, really slow. You're really breaking the things. So we shouldn't do that at all. I just wanted to show it to you. Let's delete the wrap, delete the history, and this is a base that the wrap creates always, so I don't need that. Let's grab our character. Let's do a subdivision. This is going to work pretty slow because we have a subdivision after the delta mesh and the skin cluster. Okay. Now what we can do is, because we know that we weighted our guy with the BN bones, we can select the BN, same time, and the new body, and just skin it. Okay. If I hide this one, you will see that that doesn't work that well. We had like much better deformations than this one, bad, but we had better ones. So now that we have these on the same place and not here, but in all the other ways, this is because of the detach and merge thing. But every vertex is in the same position because it's exactly the same subdivision. We can use the wall space to copy the weights from one to the other. So this one was the source, this one is the well-weighted one, and this is the target. So let's go to skin, copy skin weights, and closest point on surface, 1 to 1. 1 to 1 means one joint to one joint. So let's do that. As you can see, we can also use the UV space. This is going to be even better. Let's try it like that and see what happens. I think this is going to work pretty nicely. Yeah, works pretty nice. Yeah, everything is working pretty nicely. Thing is that I have no idea. I guess so, but I have no idea. You see, sometimes that happens, and the UVs are in another place. If that happens, you can see this one has just one UV set called UV set 1, and this one has a couple of UV sets. So, well, it's pretty easy. We can just delete the map 1 and just keep this UV set. And now we could transfer the weights using the UV space, but right now it's already working. So just try to make it UV space wherever you can. And now I have my body, which is already weighted. Let's hide that. And it's moving and everything is not working as it should. So let's try and again copy the skin weights using the UV space. Yeah, let's see how it works. That's much better. But we still have this deformation that we also had, but we fixed that. Oh, and I have a little UV set. Let's start over again really easily. I get joints, I grab the geometry, skin, back skin. I just deleted the history because I had the UV delete. Let's copy skin weights from UV space. That should work. Works pretty nicely. Yeah. You can see we don't have that much resolution because we weighted the one with the low poly. We should have weighted something like that. Not the mega highest one, but this is fair enough to create some volumes and weight and paint weights. Okay, so now that we have that, we can add, as we did the delta mesh, right? Yeah, I was creating a delta mesh because I think 25, something like that. So this will be, yeah, there are some volumes that are lost really, but more or less it's working as it should. Yeah, great. I think it's not copying the weights at all. Let's Let's try it again. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, this is still the match. Okay, let's say we are happy with that. Great. So now that we have that, we can start with the blend shapes. And as you know, we already did this base head, which is the one that we will be using. So let's just look at it. And instead of playing with everything, and now that we have more vertices, is going to be really difficult to play with, we will do blend shapes sculpting. And there's a mix of two tools in Maya which are the most powerful in the business, really, because you can do a lot of things with that. You can do such sculpting with an alembic, you can do blend shapes for facial, for correctives, for whatever you want. So one of these two things is the sculpting module. It's an amazing, there's a lot of tools here. These come from Matbox, so they are the same tools from Matbox, really, really good. You can have your Wacom and start painting and sculpting just like, almost like if it was Matbox or ZBrush. And the other thing is the shape editor, which can do blend shapes without having to duplicate geometry or anything like that. It just creates a delta. The delta is the difference between the changes that you did and the original mesh, the shape of rig, now that you know what it is. So let's just grab my base head and create a blend shape node. I will call it facial, and I will add a target. As soon as you hit target, this button pops on edit. So everything that I'm editing right now, as you can see here, editing blend shape, I'm editing the blend shape, not the mesh. So if I do something crazy like that, this is not the mesh, it's the blend shape. Okay, great. So what we can do now is we could try to do that with symmetry on and try to make a blink. Okay, problem, but this is not, I will keep it, but not doing, but I will add another target. I will put the blink, and now I can do whatever I want with the sculptor. So for blend shapes, it's not really the sculpt itself. You can see it's just like ZBrush or Matbox, but for sculpting blend shapes is not the ideal thing to do. Maybe it's better to grab the grab tool and you can start doing like really nice shapes, trying to keep the shapes they are. We will do the same ones we did. So this will be the angry one. You can create a lot of volume now that we have much more and geometry. We can do a lot of things here. Maybe something like that. Yeah, that's nice. It's our angry face. Let's call it angry. Let's create another target and let's make this one. Let's make a smile. Put a smile on your face. On maybe this one, we can with shift and right click, we can change from grab to sculpt, bolts to pinch for everyone. So let's do a small sculpt here. Maybe we can do that. Sometimes that happens with these tools. Okay, I think that's too much. Yeah, but you can see, you can feel what I'm trying to get here. So with shift, I will smooth it out a little bit. That's the thing that I love to do. Just with the sculpt, we will get rid of the symmetry and I will try to make a dimple like here. Let's see if I can pinch it a little bit. I don't have that many topology to do that. You need a little more, but I think you get the idea. So this is going to look pretty Nice. I love to do that. Okay, let's do a couple more. I don't know, maybe that one will be with the grab tool, symmetry on again, like an and paste, something like that. Try to do something like that. That's great. Yeah. Be careful with that. You have a couple of palette. So the surface palette will do something like that, where it's the surface where I will change it to volume and you will see what I mean. Now I'm grabbing also the upper lip. Clicking on the lower lip, but it's grabbing the upper lip. With the surface, I'm clicking on the lower lip and it's only grabbing the lower lip. So this is an amazing tool. It has a lot of things. We will use it a lot. That's the only thing that Houdini doesn't have. Nice sculpt tool. Okay, so this will be like mouth sap here. This will be a smile, and so on and so forth. You can do whatever you want with that. So now that we have this, we can just create the plane shape with the body. And as you know, oh, come on. We will create it on facial to body. And up and here, up, okay, it. And now I can just hide this, put that to one, and with this one I can just play with the blink, and I have my body with the facial. Again, this is not the way that you should do it. Let's grab all the inputs and put the plane shape on front of the chain. So now I can move that and I can make it angry or blink or okay, great. So that's one thing that we can do. And right now we have one blend shape, which is called facial and another facial to body. So facial is for the head, and I have another one called facial to body that is just on and off to pass through the facial from the head to the body. That's great. And now we can do a lot more stuff. So maybe what I will do, I didn't do that, and I should do it, is again paint that. Remember that we have to paint that. Maybe that's not enough. Something like that's good. Then let's go to vertex and let's paint the weights of the delta mesh, and this will be 0. And again, 8 vertex, and I will grab this, that, this, that, and also I will paint that 0. And as you know, I will just grab and make a little bit smooth. So a transition is a little bit smoother. So we don't have delta mesh here, and our blend shapes will work pretty nicely. Great, that's exactly what I need. I don't know if you saw that, but the angry one was not that expressive because the delta mesh was smoothing it out a little bit. So now we have this with blend shapes, and we can do some more blend shapes. So one thing we can do is grab this one, and maybe when this is that, let's say, let's put it, I don't know, maybe like 90 degrees. Yeah, minus 90. I want another thing, you know? So let's try and do that. Let's grab this one and let's create another blend shape. And this is corrective. Corrective bond. Okay, let's add target, and you can see that now this is green. This means that this will take in account the skin cluster, and we are doing a corrective one. This is why now this is up here and it can be up here because I'm changing the things after the skin cluster. So now let's just hide everything and let's try to sculpt it. Let's try to sculpt that. Maybe without symmetry, thank you. I will do something like that. Again, come on. I will do something like that. Make an elbow. I will grab that biceps and I will put it a little up. Like that. So this is moving up. Okay. Maybe, just maybe, I don't like this shape at all. Maybe I will just bulge it a little bit. So let's try to do something that works. Yeah, something like that. This is more or less working. Yeah. Okay, this is a nice silhouette. Maybe I will do a little bit here. Something like that. I think that's the match, but yeah. No, if I can sculpt this a little bit out. Yeah, this is too much, but you get the idea. Okay, so now I have this blend shape, and I obviously want this blend shape to activate when this control rotates, right? So when this control is at 0, I want this to be that. And when this control is at -90, I want this to be like that, right? So there's a couple of things, there's a couple of ways of doing that in Maya. Let me just save that as read character. This is the last one. Okay, so how do we do that? Pretty easy. And we have a couple of ways. First one, it's not the one that people like really, but it's the simplest one, and people that have really no experience, it's the one that they used, which is set-driven key. So driven key is a key, just like the keys from the animator editor, where you have, and I guess that you already know that, how to do animation, but if I have this, right, and I can just grab this guy and open the graph editor, and you will see how my other screen, but this is a graph editor. So X is time and Y is value. So we're going from frame 1 to frame 20, and the value in Z is going from 0 to -40. Okay, -41. Great. And what's the value between them? So this is the curve. So right here we are like 19 or something. Yeah, -19. And we can change that curve. So right now this animation is going to have a little bit of acceleration and deceleration at the end. If we do like a linear interpolation, it's going to do just one movement, like a elevator going up. And you can play a lot with this, right? And whatever you say, it is in the, as you can see in the graph. So now this is going to be like a fall. As you can see, it's most of the time is almost not moving because there's almost no change of value. And then, wow, it changes value a lot. Even here, we are in the positive, so you can see we are moving on the other side because right now we are at 20, frame 11, yeah, 21. So this is a curve for animation. Great, let's do it. So we can do the same thing, but instead of being X in the graph, the time, it can be another thing, like the rotation of this. So let's try and set it. Set driven key. The driver will be this control, and the driven will be our blend shape in the corrective blend shape, corrective body, this one, which right now is called body 1, but let's say this is a corrective elbow leg. Okay, so let's select the corrective body and let's at the driven. So you can see I have here the corrective elbow. So just as if I was animating, I can say, okay, the rotation is rotation Y, the one that I want. Let's put that here, and this is corrective elbow. I can create a key, like a keyframe. Instead of having the time, I have this rotation. So this is a key. And when this gets to minus 90, this will get to 1. So you can see this is blue because it has a centering key and key. So now I can just rotate that and you will see that this is moving. So when I'm at 0, nothing's happened. As I'm going up, this is going up, and this get to this deformation right there. You can see this is the deformation, everything's working. That's nice. Nice thing about is that, as you can see, once I pass the minus 90, nothing's happening. But this is a plane shape, so I can open the graph editor, and this curve now means minus 90, I'm at 1, at 0, I'm at 0. So this X is really the rotation of that control. So what we can do is we can play with that to create something. I don't know, I don't remember how to do that. It's been a long time since I did some animation, really. But we can grab that guy, I guess. Oh, we can create the beam for infinity linear. Yeah. So now, if I keep rotating it, the plane shape will get to some 1 point something value. You can see here, it will keep going and keep going. And now I'm 118 and this is 1.476. So the plane shape is always. Also, you have the curve to do that. So this is, I think this is a nice curve to do that, because at the beginning it's not moving that much and it starts to move more and more and more as we get to more rotation. So this is a nice curve, this works. Great. Side-driven key done. Let's see how we can do another thing. So I will duplicate this target, and this is amazing. This is really nice. As you can see, I have it not connected at all, and then I can flip the target. So now this has happened because we are in the same position, and this is a symmetric object. I have the same one on the other side, so this is great. Let's call that one R. Okay, so how can we do that? We know that 0, this should be 0, and we know that at 90 or minus 90, this should be 1. Okay, so we can open our node editor here, and let's add, we have the rotation in Y, this one, and we can select just the corrective body plane shape node and add it. Okay. And the weight of the R will have something to do with the rotation of Y. If I just connect that, it will go until 90 and it will be really crazy. But we can use a range node to do that. So our value will be the rotation in Y. But X, I really don't care. Okay, so this is our value. The alt mean will be minus 90, all max 0, and this will be 0, and this will be 1, I guess. I never get the order right, but you can understand what I'm doing, right? So what was minus 90 now will be 1, and what was 0 now will be 0. So we have interpolation, which will be linear, and it will work. Let's see if that works. That doesn't work because this is going on the negative direction. So this is 1. Yes. And now we will see if that works. You can see this works, right? Yeah. So that's working pretty nicely. And we just did set range. We just did a range. So when it's trying to tell when it was 0 to 90, now it's 0 to 1. So in 45, if I just put here minus 45, this will be 0.5. You know, just set range. Setting a range from the old number to the new number. Pretty easy. And this is a preferred way to do that mathematically because it's faster. You don't work with set-driven keys, like more artistic riggers, maybe they will use set-driven keys. More technical ones, they will use the set range technique. We have a lot of them. We have a lot of techniques to play with, but you have something. Okay, so now that we have that, and lastly, we will try to do an extra bonus tool to an extra bonus lesson to get a solution for that. Okay, so see you in the next one. Okay, so now let's try to fix this issue with another joint. It's going to be a little bit complicated, but it's going to be worth it. So I will grab this joint and just Control D, duplicate it, and Shift P to unparent it. We can delete everything. This, and what we will do is to just temporarily we will unparent this one and move this one onto right here. We will do one. You can do two. You can do almost whatever you want. I will put it more or less in the middle, and I will just parent it. And we will do two of them. One will be just like that, be an extra radius. This is going to be a PE, extra hand, because it's not going to be weighted. And we will do another one, which will be driver. And this also will be a driver. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so we will grab those joints, and first of all, let's do a mirror. So we have them there, mirror joints, great. And now I will grab those two and parent them to this joint here, and those two and parent them to this joint. Great. So now let me look. Then we have the driver. This is the one that we want. Let's just hit Control 1, and we will create a IP handle, single plane solver, something like that. So now we can just do something like that and parent constrain the control of the hand with the handle of the IK. You will see that this driver joint is just rotating in the x-axis. I don't know if you can see that well, but we'll try to show it. Alt B to change the background. Maybe it's easier to see it that way. So it's just rotating in the x-axis. That's exactly what we need. So now we will have this driver and this BN extra. And we can connect the X rotation, just the X rotation, because we just want this. We can connect that directly. But first of all, what we will do is we will grab these BN extra joints. So I also need that one. So the BN, just the BN extra joints, and our skin, and add it here in skin, add influence, log weights, add that to our skin cluster. Okay, so now we can try rotating these, and if I rotate this, nothing happens. But if I start painting some weights, I can go down here, and with this extra radius, I can add a little bit of weight. So let's grab something. That. And let's put that 1. And if I rotate that extra radius on its axis, you can see this is working. And right now you can see that minus 75, something like that, is working, and this is at minus 90. So let's try and find a multiplication that works with that. We don't have to look at this one, but better to look at that one, at the driver that has the IK and only rotates on the x-axis. So let's grab all of them, open the node editor, and this is the driver, this is the driven. I want the rotation x only, and what I will do is multiply divide. So I can connect this here, and this output goes there, and we will be multiplying by 1 right now. Let's see. So if I move that, this is working pretty nicely. You will get some flip sometimes, I guess, but right now it's working pretty well, but this is obviously too much. So let's try and multiply that 0.7 maybe, something like that. This is too much also, but we will change the weights in no time at all. So you can see we have that, that's working. You have some place where you will have a flip, this technique, but it's really really weird. You cannot do that with your arm. Well, you can do something until here. You have to rotate everything else. Just look at it and you will see it. That this is looking pretty down. So, okay. So you have that, and you can move it. And again, the nice thing about that is that it doesn't care about this kind of rotation. It doesn't care that much about this kind of rotation. It just moves with my arm, and it's really nice. So I guess that those faces right there are a little bit too much. So let's paint the weights with the original one, which is the radius, this one. Yeah, that's better. And of course, you can play with the weights, just smooth them if you want a little bit to make it look a little bit better. Same around here. So now we have really nice setup for doing this. This is too smooth, so I think we need a little bit more weight here on this. But you understand, I guess, that you can understand. Just add a little bit of that here, maybe a little bit. That's that place. Yeah, so let's just smooth it out a little bit. That is more or less working. And for sure, you can grab this rotation and with the set-driven key or set range, you can, because we're losing a little bit of volume, you can do corrective plane shape, drive by the same width setup that we did with this driven extra radius who has its rotation. And I guess that you can see here we have a really nice setup where everything has a really nice volume. We can do almost everything. Let's try and grab those two. And I can use the same multiply divide, so we have everything in the same place. Let's just have the driver, let's just have the driven, rotation, and let's connect these to the second input, the multiply divide. The second output goes right here, and we will multiply it to 7.7, same. And now this is not working because we don't have skin. Sometimes skin is not working, the mirror skin, so I will save that right now. And oh, we don't even have an IK handle here. So let's grab that one, right? There's no IK handle here, so let's do it. Handle here to here. And let's just grab this control. It was the control, right? Remember, yeah, it was the control. So let's grab this control and this, and just parent it so the IK handle is moving. So now you can see how this joint is moving. And again, I will just save the scene right now and try to mirror skin weights. So mirror skin weights are, now you can see this is also working. That's great. Okay, so we'll name the IK forearm is handle, forearm left. This one is the right. We can hide and put them in the no touch group. And we can also hide the drivers if we want, so we see the bones that we have some weights on. And again, you can have this working pretty nicely, and you can fix this with a blend shape if you want. Just as you know, you already have a driver, so I let you do that because we have this node editor with a multiply divide already, but these are the drivers, so I can just pin that with a set range to a blend shape or with a set range key. I really don't care. The important thing is the rotation of X of this joint, which only has an IK, so it doesn't have any other rotation than the twist of the IK handle. So this is a nice trick to get some really good results. This is maybe too much, I know, but we can have really nice stuff. Of course, this is not looking pretty well. We will need to weight that a little bit better. We will need to do some stuff, and facial is really strange right now, but you have all the techniques you need to create a really nice character from the beginning to the end. That will be it, and we will be continuing doing some stuff in Houdini in the next one. So thank you for listening, and see you in the next one.